Good morning. Welcome. We'll go ahead and start our regular session of the Yuma County Board of Supervisors. Also sitting as all special taxing districts, October 21, 2024, 9 a.m. Board members will attend either in person, by telephone, or remotely via electronic conferencing. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Supervisor Fantastic, can you please give us?
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll move on to call to the public. Call to the public is held for public benefit to allow individuals to address issues within the board's jurisdiction. Board members may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to Arizona Revised Statute 38-431.01H, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to criticism, or scheduling the matter for further discussion and decision at a future date. Public comments may be made in person, submitted by email at publiccomments@yumacountyaz.gov. The email forms of public comments will be accepted until 8 a.m. the morning of the meeting. Public comments will be read out loud during the Yuma County Board of Supervisors that starts at 9 a.m. Desiree, do we have any?
No, we do not.
Thank you. And I do have some speaker forms. I'll go in order. Ian?
Morning, Chairman Porteous, members of the board, Ian McGahey, County Administrator. I'm here to introduce to you this morning Humberto Del Castillo as our new Chief Financial Officer. Humberto brings more than 16 years of experience in the public and private sector, most recently with the City of Tucson. His extensive background in financial management will help Yuma County's ongoing efforts to promote fiscal responsibility, transparency, and our financial goals. So welcome, Humberto. It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
Would you like to say a couple of words, introduce yourself to the board?
Yes. Good morning, members of the board. Good morning, all. I am very grateful and honored for this opportunity, and I'm looking forward to work with you, with the Board of Supervisors, with the great team here at the county, and to maintain Yuma County's financial health, and also looking forward for the new projects and ongoing projects you have going on. So thanks again, and good morning.
Thank you.
Welcome, Humberto. Welcome to Yuma County.
Yes, welcome.
He doesn't look at all like you. Most critical questions, can you dance? He could dance. Good.
Barry Olson?
Good morning, Barry Olson, 350 West 16th Street, number 407. I was here to speak on a consent calendar, item number 7, but I understand that's going to be pulled from today's agenda. So with that notation, that was all I was here to talk about, so I have nothing else.
Thank you, Barry.
Thank you.
Marilyn Whittington? Morning.
Do I need to state my,
Your name and address, bank account, social security, no, just kidding.
and blood type? My name is Marilyn Whittington. I live at 14631 East 42nd Street. And good morning to Chairman Porteous, Supervisor Pancrazi, Supervisor Reyes, and Supervisor Simmons. Thank you, which is Supervisor Simmons is my district supervisor. I'm here today wearing a hat from my garden club. I'm a member of the Yuma Orchid and African Violet Society. We started working on a project, excuse me, allergies. We started working on a project last year and then really began moving it forward under our umbrella organization, the National Garden Clubs. Then I presented, I believe it was in April, in front of Barbara Kavanaugh and her Parks and Rec Advisory Commission, got the approval. Then I guess it came to the Board of Supervisors, and we are now going to have the dedication, which is why I'm here today. I will show you this, but Desiree has the flyer, and perhaps you already have it. Thank you to Tiffany. I have been working with Tiffany Anderson. Thank you, Tiffany, along with the Advisory Commission, as I said. We are set for November the 7th. It was Thursday. It's open to the public. 10 a.m. at the new, it's still new to me, the Foothills Community Park, which is absolutely fabulous. We have a boulder. On that boulder is a Gold Star Memorial byway marker. It will be the first one in the state of Arizona, therefore the first one in Yuma County. There are 4 Blue Star memorials in Yuma County. I don't know if you've all seen them. Just a quick refresher. One is at the Civic Center. One is at the Armed Forces Park, right downtown here. Moody Garden. And then my favorite one is along Interstate 8 on the north side at Mohawk Valley Rest Stop. Pull off there someday, and it's a beautiful, it was actually erected in 1960 in the original 80 highway. Then it was moved to I-8. It was something that was started in 1944, obviously during World War II. The Blue Star markers are for our armed services members. The Gold Star markers are in memory, tribute, and honor of our Gold Star families and their loved ones that gave the ultimate sacrifice. So this has been a very memorable and honorable project. I'm inviting you all also to the public. I am getting this out on media as best I can, and you can share it. And I hope to see you all there. I know I will be seeing Tiffany and Supervisor Simmons. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Marilyn. November 7th, you said.
November 7th,
What time?
10 a.m.
10 a.m. All right. Anybody else from the public that wishes to address the board? Seeing none, I'll close the call to the public and bring it back to the board. We'll move on to presentations, proclamations, and appointments. Any appointments?
No.
None? Okay. Item number 1, recorder elections presentation on the progress of the 2024 general election.
Morning.
Morning, Rick.
Morning, Board,
Rick.
county staff, audience. I'm Rick Caldwell, Yuma County Recorder. The purpose of this presentation is to inform you, the board, and the Yuma voters about what's taken place in the election cycle up to now and what's going to happen between now and November 5th and all the way up to the canvass. Next slide. We began working on this general election soon after the 2 recounts were decided in Yuma County. In the beginning, there's a lot of work put on our ballots, ballot content, layout, proofing, editing, and testing. In this election, there are 148 different ballot styles, which means there are 148 different ballots. Also in August, we started recruiting our election workers. We have 146 workers hired and almost all trained up to now. October 7th was the last day to register to vote for this election. Okay, we have 11,498 active voters for this election. There are also 16,942 inactive voters. So if you didn't register before the 7th, you're out, but the inactive voters can come in and submit the necessary paperwork, and they'll be allowed to vote. On October 9th, our early voting started. That's in person. Our ballots were mailed out by the vendor. That first batch was 79,776 ballots. As of Friday, we've mailed out 83,405 ballots. On October 9th, the drop boxes were inspected and unlocked. I'll keep going. We'll catch you up.
They're just trying to make it a little.
They're trying to ruin it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is kind of nasty, huh? Good.
There we go.
Now I can see it, but I'm reading off this.
I know, I can see it.
All right. Early in-person voting began on Wednesday, October 9th at 8 a.m. in the recorder's office. That first day, we had a total of 252 voters. Just for perspective, in the primary for the entire 27 days of early voting, we had 331. So just on the first day, we almost surpassed it. By the second day, we far surpassed it. Between Wednesday, October 9th, and Thursday, the 17th, a total of 1,393 early in-person voters were processed. So we're averaging about 200 voters in person a day. Monday, October 14th was the first day our teams began retrieving ballots from the drop boxes. We made an exception to the one out in front of the recorder's office because a voter came in and said they had forgot to sign their ballots. So we pulled the ballots, found that person's ballot, allowed them to fix it. So that's why you see only one drop box picked up on the 14th. The next day, we went out and retrieved the ballots from all the drop boxes in the county, and we pulled in 2,477 ballots from the drop boxes in that first run. On Tuesday, October 15th, and Wednesday, we received 1,764 ballots from the post office. So there's a lot of ballots being returned by mail and by the drop boxes. And just remember that when we get the ballots, it's not as simple as just tearing it open and running it through a tabulator. There's a process there that's very much involved that includes signature verification, and early board has to make sure that the ballot is valid. If there's any problems with the ballot, we have to cure it with the voter. It means we have to fix it. Speaking about ballots, we're averaging about 150 ballots a day that are being mailed out, and they're either being reissued because somebody lost it, or they did something and ruined it and spoiled it, and so we're sending them out, or they're requesting a one-time ballot. Okay, going ahead. Friday, October 25th is the last day to accept requests for early ballots. And the reason is they go out in the mail, and we have to allow time for the voter to get them and to get back to us. On Saturday, October 26th is the last day that we recommend to return mail ballots through the U.S. Postal Service. I think you all know that when you mail something here in Yuma, it goes to Phoenix first. So it's handled, when you put your ballots in the mailbox, it's handled by several people before it finally gets back to us. That's why I put a caption here to use the drop boxes. You know, our drop boxes, they're in six locations. They're constantly video monitored. They have fire suppression canisters in them in case somebody tried to set them on fire. And we really have no problems with our ballot boxes. And honestly, it saves us money because it's a direct line from us to the voter because we go get them. Our teams go and pick them up and bring them right back to the recorder's office. So I would encourage people to use those. And every time a voter returns a ballot, I think it's like 83 or 87 cents it's costing us in postage when they come through the post office. And by no means am I bad-mouthing the post office because they really help. Friday, November 1st at 7 p.m. is when early in-person voting ends. Emergency voting, if they haven't been able to vote by that time and they're not going to be here on election day, they can request emergency voting. And what it says is you must have experienced an emergency between 7 p.m. on Friday and 5 p.m. on Monday. You have to come in and sign an affidavit saying that you've experienced an emergency. We're not going to go into a great deal of what the emergency is about. You're attesting to it, that it exists, and you'll be allowed to cast your ballot at the recorder's office on Saturday, Sunday, or Monday, because we will have staff at the office on Saturday and Sunday.
Thank you.
Election security. I will tell you, staff and voter safety is of paramount importance to me. A ballot can be replaced, a person can't be. So we have security. Our county security is on site pretty much the whole time that we're doing in-person early voting. We have one of the elections marshals there on site to maintain order, and it's been going pretty uneventful, except it's a steady stream of folks. We have a meeting, election staff and law enforcement, this Saturday, and this will involve the agencies that have vote centers or ballot boxes in their jurisdictions, and we'll be going over the planning of our activities on Election Day. I will say that if any disruptions come up prior to or on Election Day, there are contingency plans in place to hopefully eliminate or mitigate them. On Election Day, November 5th, vote centers will open promptly at 6 a.m. We have 9 vote centers in Yuma County. Please come with a valid Arizona identification card and be prepared to vote when you come in there. That's not the time to research everything. Come in there ready to vote. We do have in this election the 2-page ballot, which is unique. Kika's been here for 15, 16 plus years, and she's never had to deal with a 2-page ballot. It seems to be going pretty smoothly. It also includes at a minimum 13 propositions on the voters' ballots. So that's why it's critical to be ready when you come in, know what you're going to vote for and get it done. On election night, the first posting of unofficial results will occur at 8 p.m. on November 5th, after they're successfully transmitted to the Secretary of State's office. Those first numbers will only include in-person and mail ballot totals. Updates will continue to be posted as the 9 vote center results are received and processed. We'll continue to do updates throughout the evening, and our staff will not leave until all the drop boxes and vote center ballots are received, counted, and secured in the recorder's office. They're not processed. We receive them, we count them, we secure them, so that nothing's still out there somewhere in some remote area of the county that we haven't got. The morning after, Wednesday, November 6th, staff will process the late early drop box and provisional ballots. The late early ballots are dropped off at the vote centers. The drop boxes will have been picked up they will have been picked up at 7 p.m. on election night. And then any provisional ballots that we have in our possession, any ballots that are unable to be processed will be cured with the voter. At this stage, not that communications isn't essential between elections and voter registration, but now, because we have ballots, that it's getting us closer to the finish line. They really have to coordinate and keep things moving to get those remaining ballots processed and counted. Our goal is to process the remaining ballots efficiently and accurately without distractions. Our goal, we want to get them done without distractions. To the finish line on Saturday, November 9th, a hand count will be completed if it's requested by both political parties. I think in my conversations with Kika, we probably anticipate that happening, but they have to both agree to it. On Sunday, November 10th is the last day to cure your ballots. It's the last day to fix them. And at that point, that's what we're working with, because nobody can change anything after that. And then come Monday, November 18th, we will be coming before you, the board, with the official results for the canvass. What I would say is that voters, if they have questions, it's really critical that they catch us in advance. The more they get their questions answered now, the easier it will make us. If they wait till election day at 6 p.m., our options are limited. So we want them to come into the recorder's office, or they can call us, they can visit the Yuma County website, or they can email us. And they have been emailing us regularly. I'm getting them directly to me. Voter Services is getting them to them. And that kind of concludes it. Any questions? Yes.
Mr. Chairman, and Rick, when they cure, are there different ways to cure your ballot, or if you need it cured, and how do you notify the person if their ballot needs to be cured?
Or an email so we can call them directly. That way we can get a quick response. There could be a variety of reasons to cure a ballot. When they pull the tabs off the affidavit envelope, if there's no signature, even though it's in the early stages of the processing, that stops it. Because it's like we can't go any further without the signature. Or if they get to signature verification and they can't verify the signature, that stops it. We'll reach out to the voter and say, look, your signatures aren't matching. You need to come in and clarify that. If it gets to tabulation to Kika's early board, if they look on the ballot and there's marks on the timing marks, or there's something on the ballot that will spoil it, they'll reject it. Am I correct? And basically that will come back to be fixed.
Yeah. Okay, and that's how you notify them through their phone number?
Yes, that's the preferred way, or email. Worst case scenario is the mail, because it takes longer. But we want to get it cured as quickly as we can. Anything else?
I just want to thank you and Kika for all the hard work you guys have done leading up to this point, and your people.
Yeah, don't forget voter registration, because the ball's in their court right now.
Yeah.
And that's why Joanne's not here, because she pleaded with me, Rick, I have stuff to do here. They're getting ready to transfer 5,000 ballots. 5,000 ballots.
Oh, they were busy down there this morning when I dropped off my ballot. Just tell them to keep up the good work and keep their spirits up and their heads up.
Yeah, they're
Gonna
amazing.
get crazy.
They're amazing. They don't let anything linger, trust me.
Rick, I have a question. Let's say, on the bubbles, I voted for Tony, but I didn't want to vote for him.
Well, you shouldn't be, you're not my district.
What do I do there?
So the voter has two options. They can either come to the office and ask for another ballot, so that way they can remedy that ballot, or they can just initial on their ballot displaying their voter intent, saying they didn't want to vote for example, a candidate or a proposition.
So like a cross and an initial?
Letting us know voter intent.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't know if it's appropriate, but I want to share with you an email. Remember I talked about distractions? That we got this. It came in on Sunday. And it went to me first at 7:47 p.m. It says, I was in Yuma today and saw thousands of illegal migrants lined up, and the county was giving them addresses so they could vote, so the same people would have the same address to vote. That is illegal and against the law. Why is this happening in Yuma? It happened at 201 South Main Street, which is not our address. I witnessed it with my own eyes. They were giving them ballots and they didn't even have an address. They didn't even live in Arizona. And then 3 minutes later, her inbox got the same email, except it was whittled down a little bit. But those are the kind of distractions that I tell you that we have to contend with every so often. Fortunately, it's not often. But when they're that absurd, we don't spend any time with it. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you for putting up with all that too.
Uh-huh.
Thank you for putting up with all that too.
Yep. Now back to work.
Moving on to item number 2, presentation of El Condado by Yuma 77, Yuma County Government Channel.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Estamos aquí en el Condado Informado y el día de hoy estamos en la oficina del alguacil y tenemos al oficial Luna. ¿Cómo está el día de hoy?
Muy bien, ¿y usted, Arlene?
Muy bien, muchas gracias. Ok, entonces el día de hoy vamos a estar hablando de las cosas importantes y recordatorios para el día de Halloween que se aproxima muy pronto. ¿Cuáles son aquellos recordatorios que tú le quieres dar al público?
Uno de los recordatorios sería que como papás pues tengan cuidado al manejar, que estén al tanto de los niños porque va a haber niños corriendo, traten de manejar pues cuidadosamente, especialmente en la noche. Otras cosas serían que si van a andar pues pidiendo dulces, como papás tengan cuidado con los niños que no anden corriendo y que al cruzar una calle que miran hacia los dos lados antes de pasar a la calle. Otras de las cosas es si van a tener un disfraz no muy brilloso, que esté oscuro, que tengan un tipo de luz, una lámpara de mano, algo que brille, ¿sí me entienden? Para que se mire mejor.
Entonces es bien importante tomar en cuenta los recordatorios porque me imagino que la oficina del alguacil va a estar dando esta información. ¿Y cómo los pueden encontrar?
Pues usualmente la oficina del alguacil hace un aviso por las redes sociales antes de pues, los días de Halloween y cuando se acerca los días de Halloween para que estén al tanto los papás.
Muy bien, pues muchas gracias y muchas gracias a todos ustedes por visitarnos. Que pasen un bonito Halloween y que se la lleven a salvo.
All the places you wanted to travel. Now.
That's what it usually works.
It's Halloween, oh.
It is.
Chairman disappeared.
He disappeared. Oh, my gosh.
Oh,
It's Halloween for sure.
He's trying to drive on Highway 95 right? It's a joke. Coffee? But
Yeah.
And your chair and your vice chair are both gone?
Everybody just kind of look at him when he walks in like, well.
it was a very short presentation.
That was very short, yes.
It's Halloween, so he decided to disappear.
Mhm.
I knew a couple of good jokes that I forget them right now.
Tony, I know you have some good ones.
Where's the finance director?
Oh, he slipped, he went to work.
He went to work? And you can tell he's a new employee. I do have a joke about county employees. And this was two kids that were arguing with each other about whose dad was better than the other. So they were saying, my dad drives a Ferrari and my dad drives a McLaren. And they started to argue back and forth. So finally, one of them says, well, just to prove that my dad is faster than anyone else, he works for the county. And the other guy goes, well, what does that mean? Well, it means that he gets off at 5 and he's home at 4:30. You can. Well, he came in, so.
See, you left us to his humor.
Which was bad. He went in like a rock.
That's why I didn't vote for him.
Not in it, doesn't live like this.
All right, we'll continue. And just for information, El Condado or the Yuma Channel 77, we do it in Spanish, one meeting, another meeting, we'll do it in English. So just for those of you that don't know. We'll move on to consent calendar. The following items listed under the consent agenda will be considered as a group and acted upon by one motion with no separate discussion unless a board member so requests. In that event, the item will be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action. We have items 1 to 14, and I would like to pull out number 7.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, if there's no further discussion, I'd like to make a motion that we approve items 1 to 14 with the exception of number 7.
No, second.
There's a motion and a second to approve consent calendar from item 1 to 14 with the exception of number 7. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And I pulled out number 7 for, I think we should have more legal review on it.
Very good.
And continue this item for next meeting or when council is ready for.
Will do.
All right. Thank you.
Oh, so you pulled it out to continue it? You
Yeah.
didn't pull it out to discuss it?
No.
Bring in the whole group?
We'll move on to discussion and action items. The board will open each of the following items separately for discussion and action as appropriate. Item number 1, Public Works, presentation and discussion on current solid waste operations with the Department of Public Works. Morning, Kelly.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm Kelly Fricke, Public Works Director, and I have with me Santos Guerrero, our deputy. And we are here to present an overview and update of our solid waste operations, and we have prepared a PowerPoint, and will be welcome to answer your questions and concerns at the end.
Only at the end?
So Yuma County has 4 transfer stations for residents to drop off their waste at no cost, and we transport the waste we receive and pay for its disposal. The Waste Management Division is staffed by 10 positions, and they're listed on the bottom right portion of the screen. And the solid waste technicians rotate their schedules to ensure adequate coverage of all the locations. And over the past few years, we've made some significant improvements at the North Gila Valley Transfer Station, and they include the addition of a Connex office with air conditioning, the establishment of 2 disposal lanes, additional disposal lanes, the paving of the public driving area and unloading lanes with concrete, the installation of new and improved safety railings, and a new flagpole with solar lighting. And these improvements have greatly enhanced the experience of both staff and visitors, leading to numerous positive compliments and demonstrating our commitment to safety and efficiency. So previously, our green waste area looked like what you see in the image on the left of the screen. And now it resembles what you see on the right. In 2021, we invested in an air curtain burner, and this solution is both cost-effective and environmentally friendly, allowing us to process green waste much faster than our previous wood chipper, which frequently broke down and was very expensive to repair. And a key advantage of the air curtain burner is its ability to drastically reduce smoke particles, reducing them to levels that are compliant with US EPA guidelines. And this procedure cuts smoke particulates by over 90% compared to traditional burning methods. And our permit with the ADEQ requires us to report the hours of equipment used, along with the tonnage burned on an annual basis, and we report semi-annually for compliance. Furthermore, our employees undergo recertification for EPA Method 9 emission observation every 6 months as mandated by EPA regulations. And in year 2023, we burned about 797 tons. Here's another accomplishment. So we accept concrete, tile, brick, and decorative stone on site, but our current capacity to manage these materials is very limited, which results in a growing accumulation on that rock pile. So the rock pile area was significantly larger, as you see in the before picture on the left. Last spring, we entered into an agreement with a local contractor who processed the pile on our site in return for being able to take that crushed material for his own projects at no cost. So the after photos illustrate the transformation. The picture on the left shows how that area is cleared out, and the picture on the far right shows the mounds of crushed material. About 9,000 tons were crushed. All right, so we have mobile cleanups, and we're usually, we schedule to go out to Gadsden 4 times a year and Fisher's Landing twice a year. And last year, between the two, we collected 3.67 tons. And as part of the neighborhood cleanup program, we offer up to 5 neighborhood cleanups each calendar year, with the goal of completing 1 in each of the Board of Supervisors districts. So coming up in November, just around the corner here, we have 2 neighborhood cleanups scheduled, one on November 2nd in Orange Grove, and one on November 9th in Country Breeze RV Park. We also conduct desert cleanups, typically in partnership with various agencies and volunteer communities. Last year, we conducted 2 desert events. One in June, we partnered with DDS, Adult Probation, Arizona Game and Fish, Arizona at Work, and a local group, a Facebook group called the 928 Flathead Boys. And they cleaned up the confluence of the Gila and the Colorado rivers, where close to 3 tons was collected. In March, we partnered with DDS, Adult Probation, and Republic Services to clean up Mesa del Sol area near Hanks Highway, where almost 12 tons were collected. And on November 2nd, coinciding with the Orange Grove neighborhood cleanup, we will be working with DDS, Adult Probation, and various agencies and partner or volunteer groups to clean the surrounding desert areas around Orange Grove. And in addition to these initiatives, I'm pleased to share with you a partnership that we have just begun with the Yuma County Water Users Association that's aimed at helping the agricultural community to tackle illegal dumping. So to support this effort, we placed some bins outside the water users' headquarters, providing them a convenient location for the ag community to dispose of waste that is found on and around their properties. All right, this graph displays the number of visitors per station over the past 5 years. And the tallest bar represents the North Gila Valley Station, which stands out as the most popular and shows a steady increase of visitors. In contrast, each of the East County stations has consistently recorded fewer than 10,000 visitors per year, although Welton, we're seeing, is experiencing a noticeable increase in visitors. Notably on the graph, it indicates a decline in visitors during fiscal year 21-22, and that's primarily due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the travel restrictions. Many winter visitors who own second residences here typically utilize the solid waste transfer station for their household waste instead of relying on trash disposal services. However, as the graph has shown, the numbers of visitors has rebounded sharply in the following year and continue to rise. Overall, the combined average growth rate across all stations during this period has been 6%, with the North Gila Valley Station achieving a 7% increase. So this graph shows the total tons of household waste hauled out to the landfill over the past 5 years. The average annual tonnage was 9,200 tons. This is approximately 249 pounds per visitor, but that figure is an estimate due to the mixed nature of many loads that we receive. Interestingly, during fiscal year 21-22, once again, the volume of waste was increased despite the significant drop in the visitor numbers compared to the previous year. We believe again that COVID-19 had something to do with that trend. While fewer customers visited the transfer stations, those who did brought in larger amounts of waste per trip. This increase may be attributed to consolidating trips or home cleanups and renovations during that time, leading to larger loads despite the overall decline in visitors. So we currently contract with local recyclers to process specific materials focusing on white goods, steel and mixed metals, and batteries. And over the past 5 years, we've seen a consistent increase in the volume of materials recycled with an average annual growth rate of 7.7%. And as illustrated in the graph, white goods constitute the largest portion, of the recyclable materials, with metals trailing just behind. And this slide presents a graph of our expenses over the last 5 years, which have steadily increased with an average annual growth rate of 6.5%. The yellow bar indicates the personnel costs, while the red bar represents supplies and services. And the rise in expenses is primarily due to inflation and rising waste disposal costs. So this graph illustrates our disposal costs over the 5 past years. And as we analyze these costs, it's important to note that over this period, we contracted with various vendors to service the East County and the West County facilities. So in fiscal years 2021 and 21-22, we experienced some decreases in disposal costs. Fiscal year 2021 saw a decrease due to bringing in less waste than the previous year. However, in 21-22, there was a slight decrease in cost, primarily due to a $2.60 per ton reduction from a vendor who adjusted their contract to align our rates with what they were charging the city of Yuma. This adjustment helped lower our disposal costs that year despite the increase in the volume of waste that we brought in. In January of 2023, all vendors raised their rates with increases ranging from anywhere from $2.15 to $14 per ton. And this change coincided with the expiration of our previous contracts, leading us to go out for bids and establish new contracts. So while our rates for those past 5 years averaged around $29.65 per ton, our current rate is now at an average of $33.33 per ton. So as shown on the graph, disposal costs have consistently risen, resulting in an average annual growth rate of 4%. A key factor in our rising expenses is the increasing number of visitors. And last year, we served 81,319 visitors across all stations. And we expect this to grow to nearly 108,000 by the end of fiscal year 2030. So this surge in visitors, along with rising disposal costs, is driving up the expenses, which does impact the general fund. And this is the place where I turn it over to Santos.
Good morning, Chairman Porches, members of the board. So as Kelly mentioned, you can see increased cost. So another factor that's going to impact the general fund is our plan to install that additional solid waste transfer station in South County. As you know, we're in the process of applying for a land use license from the Bureau of Reclamation for the 10-acre parcel up on County 19th and Avenue D. Following that execution of land use license, we'll initiate the bidding phase for one of the construction phase, which encompasses grading, fencing, and establishing power at the site. Upon approval, of course, of the budget for next year, we will go out for bid for the remaining construction of the station. We had spoken about possibly contracting that operation for the first 3 to 5 years, but now we're talking about maybe running that operation ourselves. This is going to ensure our ability to properly manage the waste being disposed, but either way, this operation is going to incur additional costs to the general fund. We have high hopes for this station, as it will provide essential waste disposal services for the residents of South Yuma County, and hopefully alleviate illegal dumping in that area. So as you see, our costs to operate are increasing, which raises concerns for future sustainability. So we would like to explore options to mitigate the strain on the general fund. And we welcome, of course, your feedback on potential paths forward. One option is to reduce our services to the bare minimum by only accepting household trash from residents. However, this approach would not fully resolve our budget issues, as landfill disposal costs is our largest operational expenses that are going to continue to rise. Another possibility is to maintain our current level of service and allocate additional general fund money to remain solvent. And of course, one more option would be to consider implementing a fee to those who use our transfer stations. While we recognize that this has not been well received, it could help alleviate pressure on the general fund by having those who use the facility contribute directly to the funding needs for these services. And this slide highlights that we're the only county in Arizona operating 7 days a week without charging any disposal fees. So you can see the positives that we have compared to other counties throughout Yuma County. So that concludes our presentation, and we'll be happy to take any questions from you guys.
Mr. Chair? And Santos, sorry.
Tanya was gonna.
Oh.
I was just gonna ask a question. Have we done any studies to see how much of an impact this is having on desert disposal and stuff? I mean, I see a lot of stuff out there.
Yeah, so the plan is, of course, to build that new transfer station out there. So our employees out at North Gila, they've been taking counts of visitors that are going out there from South County. So it looks like we are receiving about 250 visitors a month or so from South County. So hopefully that, once we get that station out there, we'll get more visitors to that station, hopefully alleviate that illegal dumping. That area up there is a bad illegal dumping area.
Let me just clear that up. I'm actually happy that we're having a station in South County. It's just that is it the intention to try to minimize the impact that we're having with people dumping tires and dumping things out in the desert? Is that one of the main drivers of it?
Part of it too, but also to that growing South County, give more, it's a long drive out to North Gila. So we're hoping that it'll be a more centralized location there for the residents of Somerton, San Luis, and that Mesa area.
Well, the people in Somerton and San Luis should have their own disposal, their own private garbage collection. It's those people who live out in the county that don't have that service, that don't buy into that service. I'm a little concerned that we will become the option to go to by people who don't want to pay the local fees and just decide that they're going to take care of their own garbage by taking it, which shouldn't be an issue. It isn't an issue now, is it?
No, and even at North Gila, we see a lot of city residents. We don't keep track of whose city and whose county.
That's my concern. My concern is that we are providing an avenue for people to sort of take their garbage themselves and not pay the fees that cities have established for that service. And then there's no physical way that we have to stop that from happening, right?
Unless we, check people's driver's license, residence, where they're coming from, possibly, but yeah, we don't do that currently.
Concerns me a little.
All county residents.
I know, but cities have that service.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Was I correct in you at saying that we're the only county that doesn't charge a fee?
There's multiple well, almost all of them that charge for different, there's some
things?
counties that don't charge for a household, but they'll charge for appliances and stuff like that.
Other stuff.
Green
Okay.
waste, yeah.
They either don't charge a fee or they don't take that item.
Or they don't accept
Oh, one
it.
or the other, okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
one, thank you guys for all the work you do and your employees too out there. Sometimes it can get a little heated, I know, with the public. And also I want to encourage the public to please use these transfer sites. That's the reason we don't charge, is so they can't use that for an excuse of not using it. Also too, have we talked to state or federal about maybe chipping in some money to help run it? For the simple fact, a lot of the land that's being illegally dumped on is BOR, BLM, state trust lands. If we're, like I said, a lot of the cleanups we do are on their property. So have we kind of maybe gone to them to see if, hey, can you guys throw some money in to help with the funding on it?
So we've met with DDS and the state people, and unfortunately, it sounds like they don't have any money for that. They're limited. I guess some of their funds got taken away through the state somehow. But George Amaya and Mindy over at DDS have been working with the state, and they have been helping us with some cleanups. as Kelly mentioned, some of the cleanups coming up are on state land.
Yeah.
So they're gonna.
But also, like I
so,
said, the feds too, because a lot of it's on their land. So,
Well, and just, just to follow up on Supervisor Reyes, the cities do collect their trash. I mean, that's why either you want to or not, you're gonna have to pay. Either you use it or don't, or you're gonna have to take it somewhere. Residents, at least. It's just big items.
Refrigerator.
That sometimes
Motor.
city residents use or to dispose of. Branches,
Green
all the
waste.
greens, and
Green waste,
a couch that
Bed.
had or a mattress or something. Yeah, and so it's not. I mean, I know it's intended for the county rural areas, but we can play it or say that because some county residents or in the areas non-city, should we blame them for throwing the out in the desert? I mean,
Blame whoever
or there, but sometimes it's people from the city too that dispose of items in the desert. I mean, yeah. So, but I honestly, it does worry me that in 3 or 4 more years it's going to cost us more. And we're the only county that does it for free. We do it 7 days a week.
7 days a week at North Gila.
So I think we need to start finding ways of kind of helping us, or helping, either charging a fee, minimal. I mean, I know the landfill in South County by 19 and 2E, it's whatever. Well, like if you take a truck just with not even a ton of trash, they're gonna charge you. They charge you $36. And if you take any appliances, it's $25 for water heaters, washer, dryer, fridge. It's $25. They won't take them if you don't pay. So I think we need to start looking at either $5 or $3, but we need to start. Especially if a resident from the city is going out there, it's obviously because they're not gonna go dump it at the desert. I mean, they're going there because they got greens or something big that they're gonna dispose.
yeah. How, Mr. Chairman, how are we looking on the tire side with our tires that we take in?
So of course, you guys approved, some additional funding from the general fund to help us out with getting rid of some of those tires, but we were able to get rid of one of the big sales out there. And, we're just chugging away, what we can, but I know the legislatures have talked about maybe increasing some funding for the counties.
Yeah,
So we're hoping
I think
for
that was approved at our last meeting to forward that through, so.
The only comment I'll make is that, that desert dumping is going to happen. And we need to make sure that the law enforcement side of that is addressed in a way that it impacts the mentality of people that just simply go and take their stuff to the desert. Because I see that a lot. And I know now with all this racers and all this stuff that is happening out in the county, out in the federal land, it's easy to see that people will dump things no matter what you do. So those are the kind of people that I like to have law enforcement get a hold of and because it only takes a few samples of that to actually have an impact. People, that gets around. I mean, you can't drop off your beer, you can't drop off your stuff, you can't drop off your bags of garbage, just drop them off out there. You need to have some sort of disposal method. But at the end of the day, it's going to be enforcement that is going to change that mindset of dumping in the desert.
It'd be nice if we could kind of funnel fines from that into the operation.
That would be one way of developing a revenue source, and the second would be to modernize that situation. I mean, obviously, ADN. I mean, there's a lot of new ways that you can find who dumped stuff in the desert that wasn't available to us a long time ago, or even a short time ago. That maybe equipment, maybe new equipment, maybe drones, it may be something that helps us determine who is dumping out there in the desert and make somebody responsible for it, because what happens, it ends up impacting everybody.
Yeah.
And it's actions like this that in some way help out, deal with the problem, but at the end of the day, the root of the problem is that people will go someplace to dump their big, their big garbage. And if there's no place to do it, they'll do it in the desert, which is what we're trying to avoid.
Well, and if you hit them with large enough fines, I mean, there's some states that charge $1,000, a fine for illegal dumping. You do that a few times, it's gonna get their people's attention.
Maybe we need to commit some funds into the law enforcement side too, so that we can actually attack this problem from both the root of the problem and the actual problem itself. I think we're doing well in the actual problem itself by doing this. But I think that we need to somehow focus some of the funds that we get from fines and stuff to go back into finding the people who are doing this and making sure that they understand that we provided them every available way that we can legally to help them not do that. And if they still do it, there should be some consequences as far as I'm concerned.
And to help us offset the cost.
Yeah.
There's this guy that drives too fast, right?
Let the illegal ones pay for the ones that are doing it right.
Any other questions?
No question.
Thank you, Santos. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kelly Santos.
It's nice to find out we're the only ones in the state doing it for free and still keep our budget even.
Moving on to item number 2. Discussion and action regarding proceeding to the construction phase of the Yuma County Public Health Expansion Renovation Project.
No discussion. We'll just move forward. Just kidding.
Good morning, Chairman Porteous, members of the board, Dave Hillen, Construction Project Director. And yes, this presentation can be as brief as you like. If you want to go right to the question, we can bypass the presentation. I'll just highlight very quickly. This is the current floor plan of the Health Department facility with the University of Arizona Cooperative Extension offices located in the southwest corner. What we are seeking for is authorization from the board to move forward into this construction, expansion, and renovation project for the health department, allowing them to progress with this project. The idea being that I would bring, the staff would bring a GMP proposal back to the board in December with a contract schedule as well included in that, which would show beginning of the project in January of 2025. We have rephased the construction sequencing for the project. You will see again here that the U of A Cooperative Extension is located here in phase 5, which is the last phase of the project. First phase would be here in the new construction. By building this first, we're able to relocate staff from other portions of the building into that space, freeing up space in this particular case on the east side of the building for renovation and allowing us to work essentially in a counterclockwise direction around and completing here once the U of A has been able to relocate into their new facility. In the interim, the plan would be we have 3 options essentially to offset the need for this space with temporary space for staff who will ultimately occupy that space once complete. And that includes either using temporary space inside the auditorium, or using available what we call drop-in space at various points throughout the building, or potentially using a modular building that we have currently being used at the admin building project across the street, which we could bring to the site as temporary office space for nursing staff who will ultimately occupy this space. But throughout the extent of construction and renovation, we'll be able to, the U of A Cooperative Extension will be able to continue to be located and operate in that space as they have for the past 20-some years, only experiencing the same sort of disruption, noise, and whatnot that all of the health department staff will experience as well. This is the phasing plan. I won't go through all of it again. It just kind of follows what we saw on the last slide, as we will start on that southwest corner, work our way around, and there's a number of kind of chess pieces, I guess, to free up space for renovation as we work our way around the building. This is a little bit of an aerial view of that, where we would ultimately potentially locate a modular building if need be, directly outside of the new construction, as shown here in the reddish color. And then the overall project schedule, if approved, we would look to begin work. We're actually here. We would look to bring that GMP proposal to the board in December, have approximately a 3-month period of signing on our sub-trades and contracting those trades, as well as early procurement processes with the idea of starting actual construction work late March, early April of 25. From that point on, the combination of new and renovation work would last approximately 12 months, wrapping up in spring of 2026. And you can see here, we also have, we're also working forward, moving forward with the development of a new facility for emergency management occupied space in this trailer here on the north side. Getting them off of that site frees up a portion of this building for some temporary office space for health staff as well. We look for that to happen somewhere here in the summer of 25. That's all I have. Any questions on the plan of attack?
Time frames. When do you expect to begin actually construction? I mean, have you done all the planning yet?
Yeah, we are wrapping up the design phase here.
April.
We are looking to have our CDs ready to go to permit here in November.
This month? Next month?
Yep, that's correct. And then the team is
construction
working
beginning
on
of April.
that construction document phase GMP proposal.
How does this match up with the U of A extension up on Avenue A and 50?
It's a difficult timeline to establish right now since we're still working our way through acquisition of land. So we are looking at approximately a 12-month duration for that project as well. That includes design. This is more like 2 years, as you can see, design and construction. That one, design approximately 6 months, construction approximately 6 months, 6 to 9 months on the construction side. But I can't really pinpoint a start date yet until we know for sure whether we have that land available. This arrangement, though, while not necessarily ideal, does work. And so we can continue to operate this way as long as necessary until that new facility is ready for the U of A.
How about emergency management?
They're going out to.
That is, we are in design right now and look to have a contract for your consideration as well in next month in November. Construction starting in the early part of 2025 and wrapping up somewhere summertime. Again, I don't have the exact construction schedule. I'll have that with me when I present that to them.
I just saw your EM move and I'm like, okay, they must kind of where we're at. Should be moving, so, okay.
Yeah, that's a target date timeframe.
Ian, do you have an update on the?
Sure, yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just in terms of the acquisition of the property from U of A, there's been kind of lengthy back and forth with U of A regarding that appraisal in which to build that cooperative extension facility. Our appraiser is recommending that U of A remove a deed restriction or reversionary clause that currently exists on the property. But as we understand it, that would literally take an act of Congress, which would delay this process even more. So it's likely that the authorization for the purchase of the property, as is with that deed restriction and reversionary clause attached to it, will be brought to the board in the coming months or sooner, coming weeks. So that way we can get it in front of the Arizona Board of Regents at their March meeting for their consideration. I know the county attorney's office is working on a legal opinion related to this, which should be coming soon. And in the meantime, Deputy County Administrator Josh Scott has been in regular communication with U of A to keep them up to date on where we stand with this. So it's ongoing. There may be some action here in the coming weeks to move this forward.
Mr. Chair, and Ian, was there anything done regarding the appraisal value?
But can I talk?
So they're working on that.
Are they working on it?
They're working on
Okay, never mind.
And I'm not sure this is agendized for this meeting. It's something to be
Okay, thank you.
better spoke about once we get to the.
Okay. Thank you.
Dave, will this, if let's say you get to phase 5 and we still haven't solved, we're still waiting, will this cause an extra cost from the construction company?
The only potential additional cost would be for that modular building if we need it. And we do have budget in the project budget.
Support it, okay?
It depends on that timeline. So we do have budget for a certain amount of time through the duration of this construction project at least it's a lease on this building, and it's reasonable. It's a couple $1,000s a month lease rate. If we get to a point where this project is complete and project budget is expended and we still have a need for that trailer, then we'd have to look for some way to continue to pay that lease cost.
In other words, it's a cover your butt type situation.
Well, it's because I would hate for them to come, or, you come and present and say, well, because of this. That's why I'm asking you right now, because if it's gonna be an issue, then we wait. At least that's how I see it. But if it's not, I'm okay with it. But I just don't want to have 10, 12 change orders or saying that, it's delaying because of this. Now, either they know they signed that contract by that, or we wait. I mean, that's my.
That's the only member here who's been waiting for like 20 some years to get this administration building built. I'll tell you, waiting is not my forte. This has been taking forever already. As far as I'm concerned, government works slow and it's fine, but waiting doesn't solve the problem. It makes it worse. I mean, this was a $8 million, $12 million project. It's going to be $60 million project. If you wait to start construction of anything, it's going to cost more. It's just a natural procession of construction. So waiting doesn't save money. It just saves maybe trouble, pain, but it doesn't save money. Waiting is not my forte, as I said before. That's why I ask you, when can you start and get it going? Because we've been at it for 2 years. The planning stages of this been at it for 2 years.
I totally understand, but I don't want to see Dave here in December of next year and saying, hey, the company is going to be charging with the change order, charging us more because they're being delayed.
I don't want you to see me here doing that either. So I think nobody has that perfect crystal ball. I feel confident that the way the budget is being constructed will be covered. And if worse comes to worse, if we have to send the trailer back and start making payments on it, find some other way to house the staff that'll go in there, then we cross that bridge when we get to it.
Well, we're going to have this building open come next year, next October. So I think we'll have plenty of space to be able to relocate people for the time being.
Yeah.
That's
it's going to be a phase project anyway, the way I see it. It's not going to be like one construction phase where you start and you make change orders. It's going to be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 phases that are going to take easily a year and a half to me.
Yeah, this is obviously a summary type of construction schedule, but this comes from the design build team. This is what they're putting forward. So you'll see something with a lot more detail when I'm back in December, if I'm back in December.
If you're alive with that.
But just as a reminder, the RFQ for the design build team was released with the U of A project in mind as well. So we have that same team together to work both simultaneously. It's the same team that's already developed the concept plans and the early cost estimating that's been done to date. So they'll be able to jump in. We'll be able to streamline the process for design and construction of the U of A facility that way.
All right. Well,
do you need any
one more thing?
Yes.
Just I know we still got to sign the construction contract or when they start.
Yes. Again, I'll be back in December. I believe it's the first meeting in December with the GMP proposal. That's the actual contract. And the contracted schedule for this project.
And Dave, I just want, we're having that construction across, and, we find out about different changes. And I honestly, this, with the health department, we want to keep it at a minimal of change orders. Because I don't want to, pay more to that company that's already charging pretty hefty price to do that. So we gotta be very careful, and I'm telling you, you gotta be on him since the beginning, because they'll charge us. We went down, we brought the budget down. I guarantee you, they're gonna find ways to bring it up. So those change orders really, either they're very necessary, or you gotta be since the beginning on them and saying this is not going to be allowed. They do it right since the beginning, or any change Any change orders?
Absolutely.
Anything else?
Okay. So you want a motion on this?
Yeah, we need action.
What does your motion want to say? Motion will be to what?
Proceed with the construction phase.
To proceed with the construction phase of the Yuma County Public Health Expansion and Renovation Project?
I'll second that.
I made the motion.
Make the motion, okay. You
Yeah,
were asked, was it a pass or what?
It was a motion, she seconded.
There's a motion and a second to proceed with the construction phase of the Yuma County Public Health Expansion Renovation Projects. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
I'm so
Thank you,
used to
David.
Jonathan being here saying,
Oh.
moving everything. so-
Moving on to item number 3, the Office of Management and Budget will provide an overview of 2023-24.
Which office
Budgetary
again?
information, subject to include inflation, general fund revenues, historical and actual versus budget projection, general fund expenditures, historical versus budget
We should have had him as one before this. See where we're at.
Morning, Chairman Porteous and the board. Tony Struck, I'm the budget director, so I'll be representing OMB today. I thought about throwing Lucia up here, but she wasn't quite ready. So anyway, just want to kind of, this is the year-end analysis, so I'm comparing how we did, our projections that we did during the budget compared to how we're currently looking at the let's go through. This is pretty standard of what we've went through, kind of actual versus projected, and then I also compare actual versus budget and projected, both for revenues and expenses. So the numbers that are being presented are unaudited numbers. So I think the finance department's going to have the auditors come in starting in early November. So hopefully none of these numbers change, but this is where it is and what the general ledger shows right now. So you'll see that the projected revenues actually came in about $2.5 million higher than what we were projecting. And I'll talk about the reason for that in a little bit. The expenses, over expenditures, we were basically over or slightly below the actual is actually, actual expenditures are $123,000 higher than what we were estimating, which is very close. And then what we're currently looking at is general fund additional reserves of about $2.3 million compared to what we were projecting during the budget. So the Office of Management Budget's goal is to be within 3% on the projections compared to actuals on both revenues and expenses, and that helps make sure that we're budgeting appropriately and not over allocating revenues and expenditures, and that we can stay fiscally responsible. This is just looking at total revenues. As I mentioned, we're about $2.5 million over. That's 2% over, so we're within our 3%, which is what we were hoping for. And I'll get into why that happened as we move forward. But prior year, if you remember last year, we hit within 0.4%. So we just kind of missed it a little bit but there was an unexpected receipt of money, which you don't want to turn down that. In the past years, we were averaging in the 5 to 7% per year. So we've been working really hard to make sure that those numbers are coming down and more accurate. The next slide is just showing our total sources. Includes revenues, transfers in, and other revenues. And there's some dollars in here that for the loan repayment for the Magrino project. So that's the reason why we're up a little bit, but that's not one of the things we look at, but that just shows you a graphical representation of that. On the expenditure side of things, like I said, we're 123,000 over, so we're just 0.1% difference. And I was hoping that every category would be accurate, but as we show on the next one, after I get through this, the total transfers out and expenditures are close as well at 146,000. Now we'll talk about the revenues. $122.8 million is $5.2 million over prior year. That's driven by state shared sales taxes up about 1.1 million, county sales taxes at 0.5 million. Then intergovernmental, which is where we have the access Altex refunds that we get. It was over by 1.4 million. We received two refunds last year from Altex compared to the prior year. So we had one in December, and then we had another one late in the budget process that we didn't adjust the projections. We got it late enough, but we left the projections as is. So that pretty much talks about why that is. Investments are up 1.6 million, and there's a accounting rule that went into place a couple years ago. Gil brought it up that at the end of the year they have to value all the investments at the market value, and so there's always a unrealized gain or loss at the end of the year. And during the year, this year, the investment values had come up, and so we're seeing a bigger increase in investments. And you'll see that on this slide where we hit interest on investments are 1.6 million over budget and 700,000 over what we were estimating. The actual cash income that we got was about 1.4 million compared to 1 million the prior year, but that's an accounting thing that they need to do at the end of the year to value the assets at their current market value. The big category, the green category, is where we have our main property taxes, our vehicle license tax, state shared sales taxes. So that category, we were pretty close on the projections. Vehicle license tax came in really strong at the end of the year, so actually ended up over what we thought. We were just slightly under on the other three categories. And then the 1.4 million, almost 1.5 million intergovernmental, that's that additional payment we got from Altex that we didn't put in the budget. So that pretty much just takes care of that. Just to look at some of the history, just to see where we're trending on the state shared sales tax. You see that, through the COVID years where we took a big increase here, inflation was pretty high, and that kind of drove up the baseline. You'll see that it's starting to level off a little bit for us, and we did budget very conservatively this year. So, we use projections as a basis for what we budget in the following year. So the closer we are to the actuals, the better the estimate will be. Vehicle license tax, very stable pretty much over the last 4 years. So that number, even though it's going up, is pretty stable. And this is a comparison to how much it represents of a portion of our revenues. On the general sales, county sales tax, you can see again that we saw that big bump and fairly significant increases for 2 to 3 years, but now we're leveling out to some extent. Retail still increases each year. That's the biggest portion of our sales tax collections. Contracting is kind of up and down. It's hard to predict, but we do trend that and see if how we're doing. Restaurant and bar sales has been really strong over the last 3 or 4 years. Utilities is showing an increase, and then our remote sales is additional. So everything's looking as we would expect on a trend. On the expense side of things, we're at 93.4 million of expenses. That's 6.4% over the $87.8 million in the prior year. Personnel costs at 59, almost 60 million compared to 53 million the prior year. That's about a 12% increase year to year. We did have a 6% scale and 1% step movement within the grades at the beginning of the last fiscal year, and we also had the compensation study that was implemented in March, April timeframe. So that explains that increase. Supplies and services, about 32.7 million. That's about a couple $1 million more than the prior year. It's a 6.8% increase. We did see some one-time expenses. We got radios for adult probation and juvenile probation. So that was in the almost 400,000 range. And then some other expenses are up, but Altex was up as well, 165,000. Compared to budget, as I mentioned, overall, we were just 123,000 over the projection, actual over projection. The personnel costs we missed that by about $500,000, still within 1%. We were using very preliminary numbers in the budget from the comp study, and so once they implemented all that, there was some things that went in and out, and I think that contributed to some of that. The reason we were off a little bit. Supplies and services were down, and capital outlay. And if you remember, supplies and services and capital outlay are kind of, because of financial things that are going on, the way that finance has to record some of what we say is the capital in the budget, but they move it down into supplies and services because it's not a capital asset. So there's some of that stuff that goes on. So there's kind of between that. So you kind of look at those two categories together. But we did think fuel was going to keep going up. We've seen a positive impact on fuel, so we were under on fuel costs. We got good deals on the life cycles. We saved money there. Again, this year, travel and training, we budget a lot of that within the departments, and whether they can take advantage of that or not. But we see savings in that pretty much on an annual basis. We ended up spending 94.3% on personnel, which gives us a reversion rate of 5.7%. We've been running over the last 4 years about 8% reversion, so we're getting closer on how we're budgeting that. And then I think we've had a lot less vacancies, so now departments are starting to fill their vacancies. We've seen some of the departments like juvenile detention, their amount of vacancies has went down. Some of those. So I think between the comp study and the way we're working on being an employer of choice is going to make a difference on how much our reversions are going forward. But that's everything. I was trying to be as brief as possible, but still give you some information that's worth hearing. So,
all right.
A couple of comments. One, I think we need to start dealing with the fact that this is going to be a tough budget year for the next budget year for the legislature to deal with. I mean, I think that a lot of that money they sent back may dry up because the state's going to be looking for ways to solve their own crisis, their own budget crisis. So I think that we can actually assume that there isn't going to be much money coming back to the county in terms of any additional help. The fact that we haven't had a gas tax in since 1990 or something, and we got a lot of hybrids in the road, is going to have an impact on that gas income, that HERF income and gas income. And the second thing that I'd like to mention that I didn't hear anything about was the limitations that we have in our budget, that we get to a certain point where maybe we have the revenues, but we won't have the authorization to spend it. So there's a budget override that we need to talk about soon. We wanted to wait until after the election because it's not something you want to talk about, but I think this is where we start talking about it as something that needs to be addressed. I know the city of San Luis is addressing their budget override through the election process. I don't know if we need to do anything legislatively, like ask the legislature to raise our budget limitations, or we need to go to the voters for this. And if we have to go to the voters for this, it's not going to be a very, very pleasurable experience. It may not be the right mood, but I think we need to start addressing the fact that we can't keep raising these budgets the way they're. I mean, you guys are doing a great job of keeping track of everything, and everything is within budget. But the fact is, we're going to run into that budget limitation at some particular point in time, and we need to deal with it before we get there. Because when we get there, it's going to be a little tougher to deal with. Am I correct?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman and Supervisor Reyes. The plan is to go to the voters in November of 2025 for that permanent expenditure limit increase.
Expenditure limitation. Okay, I just wanted to tell you that this is all fine, but it could be all upside, upended if we don't get the budget limitations off.
Well, and just a comment that, on that, it's every entity or city and county goes through that, so it's not something that the county is just looking to do it just.
I'm telling you, I found that the mood out there is pretty sour. And, any kind of budget override, it doesn't appeal as much. It doesn't matter if you think it's just the process.
I don't know if it's a budget override, but it's just.
Limitation override, isn't
Well,
it?
no, but it's.
Expenditure limitation.
You spend what comes in.
Well, no, you can't. That's the problem here. You're going to be able to have revenue, but you can't spend it.
Well, that's what I mean. You're gonna be able to spend what comes in. And that's why it goes out to the voters, to allow you to do that. Am I correct?
Yep.
That is right. Otherwise, you have to look at cutting services and.
I know. I mean, I've gone through them locally at a city level, and they're pretty disruptive because you may have the money to spend it, but you can't spend it unless it's budgeted. And you can't budget it unless you have it. So it's kind of a catch-22 situation that's coming up for the county.
All right, any other questions for Tony?
Mr. Chairman?
Thank you, Tony.
If I might, I just wanted to commend the small but mighty OMB staff that once again knocked it out of the park with getting their estimates and their projections right on track. It really makes budgeting so much easier, and it's critical to be relying on accurate projections in order to put the budget together. So thank you to Tony and Lucia.
Finance partners with us as well, so we make sure we bounce things off. But we do all the hard work, but then they help for us. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Tony and Lucia. Thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and recess the Yuma County Board of Supervisors and convene as the Yuma County Board of Equalization. Board of Equalization consent calendar. The following items listed under the consent agenda will be considered as a group and acted upon by one motion to accept the notices of decision agreed upon by the petitioners and Yuma County assessors, with no separate discussion unless the board member so requests. In that event, the item will be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action.
How many do we have in the consent calendar? Just one? One. I'll make a motion to accept that.
One, yeah.
Just one, yeah.
Yeah, just one.
So that was already negotiated between the assessors office.
Yeah, that's why it's.
Golf course, that's all. That's all. So I'll make a motion, we go ahead and approve this as consent.
I'll second. Go ahead, you can set
There's a motion and a second to
either one of us.
approve the consent, equalization consent calendar, item number one. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll do the Board of Equalization discussion calendar. Seen as the Yuma County Board of Equalization, the board will open each of the following items separately for discussion and action as appropriate. And, okay. Item number one, action regarding petition for review of real property valuation for Christopher Thompson, assessor's parcel number 664-44-001, located by Avenue B and 20th Street, Yuma, Arizona, filed by Christopher Thompson. So we have the assessor or the office of the assessors.
Good morning, members of the board. My name is Jonathan Briones. I'm from the Yuma County Assessor, and I'm an appraiser one. The item that we're currently reviewing is Christopher Thompson, parcel 664-44-001. Excuse me. This assessment will be using tax years 2025 values. The subject property is 0.42 acres of vacant land located by Avenue B and 20th Street. According to market value, the land is valued at $135,000 per acre, and we'll be using sales from the January 2022 to June 2023. And we'll be collecting sales from the city of Yuma. The subject parcel was recently bought for $237,965 in May of 2024, and this subject was purchased at a higher price than the current full cash value. The basis for the petition, the petitioner filed the petition for review for the real property evaluation, stating that the increase of full cash value in the property is incorrect, since no improvements have been done on the property. The petitioner didn't submit any additional information besides the petition for review of notice of change. It is the opinion of the assessor that there should be no change in the current valuation of $56,700, which is the value of the vacant parcel. Our sales comparison approach shows a median price of $259,522 per acre, indicating that the subject property is undervalued. Our equity study also shows that the property is undervalued at $135,000 per acre. But due to the low amounts of sales in the market area and a recent land study on the Avenue B commercials, it is suggested that there be no change to the current assessor's value. That is it for
Any questions for staff?
Just a comment. I mean, if you look at this, you went from 56,000 or 50-some thousand to 135,000, but you actually believe it should be worth more per acre.
Yes, currently the subject parcel is currently benefiting from the recent split from the bigger land that occurred in May 2024. It's benefiting from the price of per parcel. Smaller parcels in the area of Avenue B and Commercial have been going about $6 per square foot, compared for smaller parcels less than like about 1 acre. Anything acres that's higher than any land that's higher than 1 acre, it's usually going about like $135,000 per acre. So this small land is currently benefiting from the value of a bigger parcel. But since it's a recent sale, that's how it's categorized for this year. But in the future, that value for the land is gonna change to match the current sale value of the current market.
So the one that you have at 259,000 is actually by square footage? I mean, not per acre, but by square footage?
No, the
135,000 I understand is per acre.
It's per acre, yes. But the small parcel is currently being valued because of the recent split to the land. It currently has the value of a bigger acre, which in the future is going to change to a price of square foot.
Is it zone commercial already? Is it zone commercial? This property is it zone commercial? I mean, I know it's split, but it's zone commercial.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. And I know the applicant's here. If you have any comments.
I'm Justin Hell.
You want to come up to the,
I'm Justin Hell, but Chris Thompson is out of town, so I'm going to represent him too. So I don't know if you guys want to hear about the other parcel, because it's really 2 parcels. It's my parcel and then Chris Thompson's parcel that you guys were just talking about. I don't know how you want to do it.
So,
or if you want to get them twice and see the same thing.
Well,
practice, because you're going to have a complaint next year because it's going to go up again. And it's pretty substantial. So what would be the reason why we shouldn't accept that?
Well, the main thing is like to me, there's no comps around there. That land, I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. It's the land on Avenue B and 20th next to the old Dairy Queen. Pat Connors built that car wash. Nothing's ever changed. I mean, I'm 45 years old in my life. I've never seen anything on that land but dirt. It's been dirt forever. And like he was saying, he explained everything really well on the phone to me weeks ago. When he said the lot split happened, that's why the land really went up. Well, the lot split actually happened 2 years ago also, in 2022, when Pat Connor developed that land and did his car wash, and then he sold off those parcels. So to me, like, I use a lot of common sense in life, and to me, the biggest portion of that lot split that should have gone up, it should have gone up 2 years ago in 2022, because that lot had never been changed in the history of Yuma. So all of a sudden, you know, like 2022, the value stayed the same pretty much, I feel like. And then now it's in 2 years, it more than doubled. How does something go up more than double in 2 years? I know there's inflation, but there's not that much inflation going on. And there's nothing around there but farmland. There's no comps. It's all developed stuff. And it's just a piece of land that's been sitting there, and I don't know why it's never been developed. But I just don't understand how something could go up so much in just 2 years, because the split happened 2 years ago and it happened again just previously because I sold a portion to Chris Thompson.
I think what happens is you assume that everything that happens is reflected immediately. It doesn't happen that way in government. It takes years for something to reflect. My concern now is that once it starts going, it starts going. And I think the $135,000 an acre, it's just a reflection of the area. It's not what has been done there. I think it's when the sale happened, it changed the way that it's looked at. It's now it went from being farmland, which is what it's always been, sort of like farmland, to now being prime commercial land. So that's why I ask, is it zone commercial? If it is zone commercial, it's reflective of this land sale that happened 2 years ago.
It's always been zone commercial.
Well, that's what I mean. But now
Area, that whole section
it's a
was
sale.
zone commercial.
It was a sale nearby. That's what he's talking about. It was a sale, and the sale brought in a new price for the land. It's as if somebody found out they could use it for commercial, and now it's being appraised as commercial. Well, before it was just appraised as empty land.
But
It's still empty land.
I know.
It is.
Same thing.
2 years ago, but 2 years ago, it was split.
It's split.
It was split,
Into
and
smaller
this,
parcels.
and this parcel that has the car wash on it went up. But the parcel that didn't have anything on it didn't go up, so.
Well, it went up now on evaluation. That's what.
No, but is it because you do everything 2 years in
Advance? Yes. We do 2 years, everything, we work 2 years in the future.
in the future or in the past?
In the future. We work 2 years in the future, so, we currently.
You need to get up to the
Oh, sorry.
microphone. Sorry.
Are you good?
That's what I mean when I say it takes 2 years.
So the Yuma County Assessor's Office works 2 years in the future. We also do land valuations based on the market area, and we go from sales in the past for example, if we do a market sale, we grab sales from current year to the last year and a half, and we grab those sales to give a valuation of the land, of the current value of the land. The land could stay the same, it could be empty and everything, but land still sells at a high price, and every year has been increasing. So we see sales that change, that is showing that like land value is going up. We have to make adjustments to the land value to reflect the valuation of land for tax purposes.
So you're saying the value is, right now, current value is 56,000?
The current value for this, for the subject parcel, which is 664-44001, land size is 0.42 acres. The current valuation for that parcel is $56,700.
And you want to bring it up or
No,
the?
I want no change. I want it to stay the same, due to like even though it's benefiting from a larger parcel, this valuation eventually is going to change in the future to match the valuation of a parcel that size, which is what the assessors does. Since this is a current split that went from a big parcel to a small parcel.
Okay.
I know you haven't done much, but you have time.
So currently it's at 56,000.
Yes.
And that's what you're going to keep it at 56,000.
But it wasn't that. It was way less. I mean, because obviously it was a 4.30 acres. I sold a little portion to Mr. Thompson. He's going to do some type of business on there. I have no idea what it is, but the valuation has more than doubled on all of it, and it just nothing has changed. It's the same thing. It's all the same. It's just a piece of dirt with some weeds on there, you know. And so
I know,
for
I
me,
go
it's
by
like-
it every day.
And then if you look at Pat Connors' lot right in front of us, which is prime real estate, it's right on Avenue B. I'm stuck behind him. You know, he could build some 2-story building and block my whole view. His is half the price of ours. So how can that lot be half the price, and then we're hidden in the back and it's double?
And his is improved on.
Well, his is he has two still. He has the car wash lot,
Uh-huh.
and then he has the other pad that he's trying to sell.
The middle path.
It's the one closest to 20th and B where the Dairy Queen is.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so that lot is still valued half the price. So to me, I don't understand. That's the part that is confusing.
Can you explain that?
I currently cannot explain that. I don't have the valuation on hand for that lot parcel for the car wash soft lot in Avenue B at hand. So I cannot say like what's the value, but what I can say is that the land valuation for both parcels in that area, it's $135,000 per acre, which is just the land. He also the property, if he's saying that the property is supposed to be valued less, he purchased the property for $237,965 for 0.42 acres, which is purchased at a higher price than the full cash value. We're saying that the valuation for this land is currently valued at $56,700, $700, and it was bought for $237,965.
Go ahead.
I want to know, hold on. My computer went down with all my pictures. I want to know, so there's car wash, empty lot, correct?
Yes.
Okay, car wash, empty lot, that's the one you have, right? Correct?
No, the vacant parcel that's currently subject is car wash, vacant lot, and then to the left, it's to the west side, it's a vacant land. This is the parcel that we're talking about.
Okay, that's your parcel.
Mine's the back one.
It's
It's the back lot on the very back.
Yeah.
The one
But it goes like this.
yeah, it's where
So
the school is. It's that whole lot that everyone parks to walk to the school. That big
Yes,
lot right there.
that part right there,
And
and then
Mr.
the
Thompson
front
is the
bought
close-
he bought the front part.
Mr. Thompson bought I chipped off a portion of mine right on 20th, so just a little spot, but he's in the back. Pat Connors still owns the lot in front, the dirt lot in front.
Okay.
So ours is behind Pat Connors,
Okay,
right on Avenue B.
and how much is that one going for, the one that Pat Connor still owns?
It's this one. Oh, the one in the front. Oh,
Yeah, the one in the
He
front.
doesn't-
That's the one I even called Mr. Connor and asked him if he got any type of valuation increase, and he said he got nothing.
He got nothing.
He got nothing. Everything's the same.
Well, then how come? How come one got one because it sold and the other one didn't? But why?
When you mean valuation increase, you mean property taxes?
Well, no, I'm just saying like like what we're doing here, the land value. His says that his didn't change at all. His is still the exact same.
Like since I don't have those numbers currently, and like when I'm making this this study to prove that the valuation for this land, with the full cash value for this land should not change. I go by current sales in the area which I mentioned here, which are from January 2022 to June 2023, that kind of match the 0.42 acres. Given it like an average of like anything that's less than 1 acre, I'm putting it in this recent study. So I cannot say, since I do not have those numbers with me, I cannot say like, oh, the valuation is lower or like higher. But I do can say that the land for that area, it is $135 per acre, because we go by like, since it's an automatic process and wherever we put like do valuation for the lands, like it's easy to put like just $135 per $135,000 per acre on the land for this certain area, and all the land gets changed to that. So I do know that it's the land valuation for those areas that they're talking about. It's $135,000
Okay,
per acre.
I'm looking at, hold on. There we go. This is a car wash.
Yes.
This is the empty lot, correct?
The
Right,
vacant-
this
the-
is the car wash. This is the part that,
Can I get
come on
closer?
up. Yeah,
Can I get closer?
sure, come on up.
Okay.
Hold on, I lost it. There it is, okay.
So
You want
this-
me to make it smaller so you
No,
can
this
see
is-
the whole thing?
This is the current subject parcel that we're
And
talking-
that's 56,000.
56,000.
Do we have it? Can we get it on the screen?
I have it right here.
The one said property reside on 20th Street.
Avenue B, okay. So that parcel isn't even on Avenue B, it's on 20th Street.
20th Street. It's hidden behind the frontage,
Yeah, so Pat still owns all the frontage,
all the frontage.
okay. And his other two parcels didn't, well, he put the car wash on 2 and he still owns the third one that's on the corner of 20th and Avenue B?
Yes, that's the
And
one.
that one didn't change?
It didn't change. From what he told me, he never got anything.
But since I feel like we don't have that those values here with us, I cannot confirm or like deny like that
Can we-
valuation.
Can we find out what that is and why it didn't change before we make a decision to raise this back part so high?
I'm requesting a no change. Like there's the valuation for the vacant parcel, the current vacant parcel, it is valued. Currently, it's undervalued compared to
What was its value before?
its valuation is 56,700. Its valuation before, like, we're not valuing it from before. Hold on.
Because it was a great big piece at one time.
If you go on the next one, you guys are going to probably talk about is the DPL land, which is mine. That's when I sold, because I sold this part, but that was one big piece, and I sold that little chunk right there.
Okay.
The frontage, yeah.
Hold on. I found it here. So the notice of value that he received before was valuation for it was like 1900, 333. That's how
19,000.
Sorry, thank
Yeah,
you.
you're good.
That's fine. $19,333 dollars.
Big piece?
For the
No,
small.
that's my far one.
Okay.
And it was revised to show the price of 56,700.
So you're moving it from 19,000 to 56,000 in 1 year?
It's undervalued.
Yes, because it was undervalued due to the market sales in the area of land sales.
What, do we have comparisons that show
Yes.
that?
So if you turn to
I think I looked at it already, but
page 4,
assessor's packet, page 4.
it's basically an
Okay.
it's an analysis summary of my evaluation. Further down the pages, there's going to be pictures, like if you would like.
Okay,
So for analysis summary, we find that our studies find that a subject property is undervalued compared to similar vacant parcels. And as I said before, that taxpayer is benefiting from the current valuation of $135,000 per acre from the 2024 parent parcel split.
you don't have any pictures of any of the other parcels?
Yes, I do. It's it's further down in the pages. If you go to
I'm going down. I
Page
can't
16.
find it. Okay, I'll get there.
I'm showing, it will be sales compare.
Oh, I see it now. There's one over here,
And the only reason that I'm
16th Street. Okay. And one on Avenue B. Or 1, 2, 3, 5 on Avenue
There
B.
was 5 parcels.
Those are the two comparisons, correct?
Yes, I got 5 parcels down south and 1 on north. If you go further down, you can look at you can see the parcels much closer.
Okay.
And these are the parcels that we're comparing them to. And if you
So
go,
694-12-120 is the one that you're comparing it to, or all?
all of them, like all of them, compare them to all of them. Those parcels recently sold in March of 22
Mm-hmm.
for about the larger one, 124 sold for 193,790, and the the parcel 123 sold for $61,380.
Mm-hmm.
The parcel 120 sold for the same amounts, $61,380,000.
Mm-hmm.
Parcel 122 sold for $55,044. Parcel 121 sold for $55,044, which gives it about like almost like $6 per acre.
Per square foot.
I mean, sorry, $6 per square foot.
Okay.
The current valuation for the subject parcel that we're talking about is currently valued at $3.10 per square foot. It's sold for $13 per square foot.
And now, what are your, at 56,000, it's going to be the same as the others at $6 per square foot?
No, 56,000 will be is being valued at 56,700 is being valued at $3.10 per square foot.
Oh, so it's going to be a whole lot less than those other two that are being.
Yes, it's a lot less, but it's currently benefiting from a recent split. Eventually, that valuation is going to change, but that will be like in the future when we do compare sales again for like the timeline that we do to see if the valuation of that land should increase or not.
Okay, I have a question. Those 5 parcels right there,
Yes.
is there an easement for them to get access to the back parcels?
No, that I know of, there's no easement.
How do you get to those back parcels?
That wouldn't, I wouldn't be able to answer that one. I feel like that.
Until they develop.
Yeah, that would be like.
Not until they rezone
Yeah,
or do
or
something with it. Mm. Okay.
So, in both cases, which we haven't gotten into the next one yet, but the petitioner is basically asking for your value to be 20,000? Is it 20,000? 21,000?
Yeah, the petitioner's opinion is saying that the full cash value should be at $20,299.
And I would say that Mr. Thompson's a victim of his own success, which means that the moment you split it into smaller parcels, it increases the value of a parcel.
It increases the value.
So you kind of end up being a victim of your own success by making a smaller parcel, which is now more expensive because you split that parcel into sections. Every section then is valued on its own. This is what I think is happening now. This land hasn't been used in years. It's big land, big parcel of land. Doesn't have frontage to Avenue B, but it does have frontage to 20th, which will go back to the issue of how you're going to get access to 20 in this large parcel. But that's going to be left to the developer. But the moment you split it up into smaller sections, you change its inherent value by doing that.
I have one more question. Okay, does it make a difference that parcel 664-30-098 and those 4 or 5 parcels down below, one faces Avenue B, which is a major thoroughfare, and the others face 16th Street, which is a major thoroughfare, and this little parcel faces 20th Street, which is not a major thoroughfare and doesn't even go all the way through. I mean, it's not a through. Does that make a difference in the value?
It does not. Land is valued like equally for certain areas. It does.
You don't take into account the fact that that property faces, yeah, it seems to me that you should take into account that that property, Avenue B facing property and 16th Street facing property seems to be more desirable for commercial than a 20th Street
I think
facing
it's the
property.
entry into the school.
Do you have any?
School on the left side.
So there's no street.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I guess to try to clarify this a little bit for you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, we do take that into consideration, depending on where where it's located at,
Okay.
as to what the traffic is like and things of that nature. Again, what set this property off was the fact that once it got split, like Jonathan had explained, it's actually taking advantage of the dollar per square foot of that larger parcel. So it's actually sitting in the taxpayer's favor compared to the other properties, okay? If we're comparing this property to the ones that you had brought up, it is valued a lot less than they are. I believe that those properties, bless you, I believe the properties that you mentioned, they're being valued somewhere at $6 a square foot, whereas this one's only $3.10 a square foot.
Right.
So once we do the analysis as to, okay, how much traffic does it get? How is it exposed to, the businesses and things of that nature? We'll be able to put that in an area or a category that is valued appropriately, depending on where it is.
Okay,
It may not be brought up to $6 a square foot.
Mhm.
It may only be brought to $4.50 a square foot because of its circumstances.
Because it faces a different direction, doesn't have the traffic and all that kind of stuff.
What I guess maybe, and this probably is not going to make you feel much better, but what brought this to light is the fact that, as these properties are getting less and less, it's commercial, it's in a good area, Yuma's growing, values are increasing.
values are
we
increasing.
can't deny that. So, it got split off of the larger parcel. So again, it is taken, that's the number that they're using, is that larger
And
parcel.
can you go back up to the parcel that we're talking about? That one right there, 001?
An agreement.
64, okay. Now, the pieces in front of it, that's my other question. Is the pieces in front of it all belong to Pat Connor and their value didn't go up?
But their value was at 135,000 an acre. So it was accurately valued the year prior.
Already, okay. Okay, because.
That's why he didn't see an increase.
Because his was already high. And what does he pay per square foot for that, do you know?
I don't have it directly in front of me. All I can say is it's right where these properties are for right now.
Okay,
The
so
larger
they're,
parcels.
okay. And that's why it didn't go up.
Until there's another reevaluation of these parcels
as you start maybe selling more and more off of that larger lot, that'll give us an indication of what these parcels are being marketed
good
at
for.
and what they're worth.
Okay, thank you. Those are my questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so any other questions for the applicant? For the petitioner?
No.
Or comment?
Tony?
Um,
No?
I don't have a question, I have a comment, really quick. I mean, this is what happens when you do the kind of things you're doing, you're making it more valuable. The problem is that I don't see this as the end of the road here. I see it as the beginning of the road. I think as you reevaluate these properties based on the smaller size parcels, you're going to end up complaining about the valuations all the time because they're gonna go up in value really quick. I mean, the fact that it took 2 years for them to record it doesn't mean anything to me. It means the county just takes a little longer than most to assess the situation. But now that they start assessing, it's like brought it to their attention. So now they have their attention on it. It's just, to me, it's almost impossible not to see an increase coming in next year, the year after, and so forth. What I'm trying to do right now is try to find some sort of way to resolve this issue by sort of splitting it up. I just can't figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
Because I think that in the case of Mr. Thompson, he needs to understand that valuation changed the moment he bought that property. For whatever he paid, he bought it cheap. Now it's going to be difficult to keep that assessment, that price. Now, 20,000 is too low. 56 may be a little steep when you see it as a 2.5-fold increase, but still, I think it's undervalued. It's going to come up a lot higher. I mean, that's a smaller parcel, and it runs, I think, to any end.
It does.
And
What do you
ultimately, it was the lot split that triggered it.
Yeah, it was. Well, go ahead. I know you want to say something.
Yes, I do want to say something. So, I want to talk about the LPV, saying his valuation. Even in the future, if his valuation ever were to increase, the LPV will stay, will just increase 5%, which is where we base the property taxes from. So even if in the future this land were to increase by any amount, like next year he's going to be paying 5% of the of this current year's LPV.
Oh, see, so it can't just go up like that.
Like it won't go up. Like it's Arizona law statute, like for to protect property owners from high valuations of lands. The only way that it can change dramatically, like of paying property taxes, and I have it here on page 5. There's only 2 ways that the LPV can be recalculated, and it would be like property improvements on the land were omitted. There have been had a change of use, or for this example, the property was split, which causes a recalculation of the LPV, and that's the only that's one of the reasons that that the land can be the LPV can be changed and the taxes will be different.
Thank you.
So you don't get that every year. You get that.
You only get no more than 5% every year.
It's going to play with
The
that.
thing that I don't understand is so it goes up, the LPV goes up more than double. And then so I don't mind paying my fair share. Between all my properties in Yuma, I pay about $100,000 a year in property tax. Like one building cost me $65,000. I write a check. It's all good. But like this, it goes up more than double the LPV did. Or it's good. Now it's only going to go up 5%, but the main thing is, why is it going to go up more than double in the beginning? It should just go up maybe 20%. I don't know, because it hasn't been reallocated for a long time. But it's the point of how big it's going up. I just feel like we're getting taken advantage of. And, it's really hard for us to continue to keep building buildings and doing these things because everyone takes so much. So I'm just here trying to fight for, I feel like, what's right. And I just feel like it's gone up too much. And, you have land in front of it that's frontage that's still half the price. And I just don't agree with it.
I know what it feels like to be a victim of your own success, but when you split the land, you give them an opportunity to reassess the value. And
I still want to know what the properties in front of it
Well,
are going for.
gotta make a
okay, so we gotta make a decision. I mean, I
Okay, you
think,
go ahead.
it's either we send it back and the petitioner and the assessor work it out, come up to a number that I think we make a decision on that, or we make a decision right now. I think doubling it, I think it's, yeah, it's.
I think that's high.
It's high. I mean, obviously, I wish there was a way that when land is sold that, or split, that the applicant or the owner or the buyer knows that it's gonna change, and it's gonna change the property tax in 2 years, or at least for somehow to them, that know. That way, we don't see this. I think, I mean, there's something that we can do to minimize this, at the very beginning. I know it's hard to predict how much land is, but at least they're aware, and they're not caught off guard when they get their next, evaluation or tax property bill.
how much leeway do we have? I'm asking legal now. How much leeway do we have to change I mean, we have to have a reason to change it. I understand that, but how much leeway do we have to make a decision regarding the evaluation of this property, other than the assessors or other than the owners in this case?
How much leeway?
No,
Well,
question
for Bill.
question is for Bill.
The
How much
statutory
leeway-
language, Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Reyes, is you shall grant or refuse in whole or in part. That's the
Oh,
standard.
whole and part.
In whole or in
Okay, so-
part.
So that means.
And you have, by statute, you have to make your decision by the third Friday in November.
Of November?
Yes.
I'm ready to make a motion that we go ahead and assess this at $40,000 an acre. I mean, that's less than 56, and it's only double. And I think you're gonna get to this situation where you have 5%, but I don't think we can just dismiss the arguments and the allegations. I understand. They're not allegations, they're facts. And so, but I wanna be a little bit, I wanna recognize the fact that these are people who are investing in the property, who had it for a long time, who, when they sell it, they change the price without actually understanding. When you change the price, you change the taxes on it. And it takes a while for the county to catch up, but it will catch up. But I think at 40, it is not totally what the owner wants, it's not totally what the assessor wants, but it's something that I feel, in all fairness, it just makes more sense to have it go up gradually. Now, I did not understand it would only go up 5%, because it's undervalued as far as I'm concerned. But if we're allowed to, I'd like to make a motion, we go to 40 if we're allowed to. You got anything to say? I mean, suit up and then.
Like I said, does that,
And members of the board, here's what we're afraid of. At $40 an acre, that is gonna put this property,
What do you think? No.
40,000 an acre. Is that what he said?
No, $40,000.
$40,000 for the full cash value?
Instead of 56.
Because we just need to make sure that.
We're talking about.
Yeah, we just need to make sure that what we're doing is not gonna totally put this, it's already being undervalued compared to other properties around it.
As a county officer, I mean, yeah, I understand the leanings that we have, but as a representative of the people, I understand also the arguments that the owner is making about making that change. I think it's just a matter of the market dealing with it. But in this particular case, it came to us. It seems to me like it's not gonna be, it's like splitting a baby in two. Nobody's gonna be totally happy, but I think that what we're trying to do is react to somebody's comments about the property. He understands, I think, that the fact is when you split it, when you make it smaller, you just give it a different value, you sell it a different, it's going to end up, the next time you split it, or the next time you sell a parcel, it's going to end up with the same particular problem, because now you have sort of made it so that it's easier for the county to assess what its property value should be. And that's just a fact of growth, it's a fact of market, it's not a fact that we have a lot to do and say about it, but in this particular case, we do end up with the decision that we need to make. And we need to make one that I think it's not totally, sometimes the county just makes a case that is totally backed by facts, and you have. But in this particular case, we're asked to make a common sense decision, and what I'm trying to do is sort of like make it so that it's not really what the county would like to have, the county assessors, but it's not really what the owner would like to have, but at least it's a move in the right direction. So that's why I'm making this motion. I don't know if anybody's gonna say.
I'll second it. Oh, you will too?
Well, just my question is, what will this trigger with the surrounding property? Now, we're gonna have everybody in the surrounding property coming in, well, you devalued his, or you gave, that's my question, is what's
Those two parcels,
the
those
chain
two
reaction?
parcels, those two
There's only-
parcels
there's
in
only
there
three parcels in.
are
There's
the
no
only
overlap,
vacant
most of them.
properties
Yeah, but all
except
the
for
ones
that
they
big
compared it
acreage.
to.
Well, the ones that
all
sold,
filled in.
they're valued at what they.
I believe, as we have discussed, I think the parcels that he used are on at $6 a square foot, where this one is only being valued at $3. It's half of what the other commercial empty lots are going for.
But
I
it's
think
not,
it's the other
but
way.
it's not
That's what
less
it
than
was
the
valued
piece in
before.
front of it, and
It
it's
was
not
valued.
less, and those two are both on Avenue B and 16th Street.
But-
Okay.
Okay, so
let me-
there was
let
a
me-
motion and a.
There's a motion and a second, and the last thing I want to do is talk about precedent, because throughout the years that I've been here, it's always been the talk that what you do establishes the precedent, but the Board of Equalization only deals with certain specific cases, the board. Equalization. It doesn't deal with the general, you can't use one and say it's the same as another one. They're different in scope, they're different in nature, they're different in location, they're different, and so, to me, the precedent, it's a writing factor, but unless somebody's coming up with the same thing, and if the other parcels wants a devaluation of what they have, I can tell them right now they're not gonna get as much sympathy, because they already did what they did, and they already know what they have. This is a property owner that should be smarter than that, but, I mean, it just so happens that it makes sense to me to deal with it as a one-time case, and start it off not at the level that he wants, not at the level that the county wants, but at a higher level. And I know that there's going to be arguments pro and against, but my motion is second.
Go ahead.
So, now you want to go for like the $40,000 full cash value for this property. It's currently going to be undervalued. It's going to be just putting it more undervalued when the property, if it's the current value, it's not 56,000, and it's by what the sale is. The sale, this subject parcel was bought 3 months ago for $237,000, $237,965. So that's just showing the current value of this parcel. That's
I know the split, I'm sure it will come back.
But this is for the smaller parcel, and it's just showing like, I'm not talking about the $237,000. I'm not talking about the bigger parcel. I'm talking about the smaller parcel, which is the orange section that's there on 664-44001.
Yeah, I understand the timing and the market size. I do understand that. I understand that once you make it smaller, once you give it some frontage, it changes the value. I do understand that. I've been around real estate for a long time, and I understand that. I'm just trying to sort of, like I said, split the baby here in two. And it's not gonna please anyone, but I think that we understand where it's coming from, but we understand where the county's coming from. They're both factual in what they're saying. It's just that we need to make a decision. We've been around.
And it's not just this one property, it's both properties.
I know. I'm going to the next one next.
We'll
But this
get
one
to
is the
it.
one we have in front of us right now. I mean, the arguments are gonna be the same, so it's not gonna take that long.
Well, but one of the things is, I think it'll set that from now on, everybody's aware, and, I do see his point, and I do, like Mr. Reyes says, the counties, but, when it's hard, especially for people that invest here in Yuma, and are faced with this, all of a sudden, a bill that you were used to paying so much and then doubled or more without even having a building in it. It's just fallow land.
Yeah.
You know, so, and this is not the first time I've heard this, but, you know, you kind of hear it out throughout the county with, especially from investors. That's why I've said, you know, earlier that I wish there's something done before this happens, because if it's up to us, I mean, at least, you know, it's always going to be halfway. You either you work it out together, or
Compromise. Mhm.
yeah, because it's just a lot of money. You know, I think we all pay taxes, but believe me, when I do see my bill and say, "Whoa, it went up from this much to this much," I do see both points, but
I have one more comment.
go ahead.
That parcel is also limited as to what it can do because of the restrictions, because of the school that's located there. There are all kinds of restrictions on what that property can be used for because of the location to the junior high. Those other two parcels don't have that. Go ahead. Sorry.
All right. Do you want to make a last comment?
Okay if we lose?
Okay. So I feel like one of the main concerns for the taxpayer currently is that his property taxes rose up by double of what he's currently paying. The full cash value can be reduced and everything, but it's not going to change the LPV, which is still he's going to be currently paying the current amount.
He'll still be paying.
He'll still be paying for his property, like the same amount of property taxes, because the LPV.
We're not moving it
Below, yeah.
We're not moving the full cash value below the LPV, so that LPV is gonna stay the same. So if we agree to 40,000, I'm sorry, I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but if we agree to 40,000 for this parcel, it's not gonna recalculate that LPV, so the taxpayer will still be paying the same amount. So if his
You think we
ultimate
can
goal
reduce
is to lower his taxes, that's not gonna happen.
Okay, so how do we lower the taxes?
Yeah, I told you not to go there because
that would be what
What was the tax, what was the LPV at?
the LPV.
Why can't we send it back and let the assessor and them try to come to a compromise?
I think we should let
You wanna?
I tell you because it's gonna come
His
back.
LPV
Go ahead.
His LPV taxes were based on $14,000. That's really low. That is extremely
So,
low.
but now you want to base that out on 56,000?
Oh, well, right now, it's based on 34,000. And if we're offering to lower that full cash value to 40,000, it doesn't recalculate that LPV because it's not dropping below that LPV value.
And the LPV value is 34.
That's right. So we would have to agree that this property is really only worth $18,000. And
Isn't the next one?
I don't think we can do that.
Do you want to?
Not
Okay.
when our practice is to value property based on market. I just.
So what are we doing today? We can't lower it ourselves.
So let's send it back.
What are we doing today then? If we cannot basically set a value, if we can, which is what I thought we were doing, and which is what I asked, can we set a value? What are we doing then if we can't set a LPV value?
Again, Mr. Chairman, the only direction I can give you is what the statutory language is, that you can accept or reject the petitioner's request in whole or in part. That's your statutory
Yeah,
authority.
that's fine, but I mean, if I'm hearing correctly, we're being told it doesn't matter what you do, you can't lower that. So we're not lowering it, actually, we're raising it. It was at 36, we're going to 40. So how does that apply to what we're doing? Because otherwise, then what do we do? I mean, I hear the supervisor around me saying, send it back and have them negotiate between themselves.
I
which
think
is
they've already
another
tried to
option,
do
but I
that,
think
haven't
that
you?
if it comes back to us, we're gonna have to make a decision.
I said retail.
I thought we made a decision, we were making a decision with the motion in a second, but if we're not making a decision, if we're just spinning our wheels here because what's gonna happen is gonna happen. I don't see us acting as a board of equalization. I see us acting as a sounding board more than anything else. What is happening here?
That, you're absolutely right. See, and it just so happens because the full cash value last year.
Let me ask you a question. What
Yes.
happens if we take the petitioner's case and say, okay, we're gonna accept this recommendation?
Okay, and so.
Can't change it?
What did he want his property
We go with
valued
the
at?
assessors or we go with the applicant?
That's what I'm saying. I thought, well, I asked the question whether we can modify.
Yeah,
it.
what was his
You-
request?
I thought it was, I
Okay.
thought the answer was yes, you can modify it, you can, in part. You can modify it in part. That's why I was trying to figure out a way to get this process moving forward without being ultimately saying yes to what the owner wants, because I know what he needs, what he wants. And not saying yes to what the county wants, because I know what they presented the facts equally. One is common sense and the other one is based on sales. So now I'm making a decision, and I thought we were making a decision, but then we're being told, no, you're not. And I'm just a little, after 20-some years here in the county. I'm a
You
little
wanna
confused.
withdraw your petition, your?
No, I want to know what's going on.
What was Mr. Hale's request?
20,000.
20,000.
Wait,
20,299 for that.
Instead
for
of
that parcel.
39?
And then he wanted the LPV to remain 14,516.
Okay. Well, you have the LVP at 34.
Yeah, that's right. Because of the sale of the larger parcel, then we took that dollar per square foot of the larger parcel, applied it to the smaller parcel, which is still below the other parcels of that size, recalculating his LPV from 14, I'm just gonna even it off here, 14,000 to 34,000.
Okay, and he wanted his he wanted his value to be 20,000, which would what would it do to the LVP?
5% from last year.
Would have been 5% from last year. That would be the 20,000. The 20 would be the 5%.
21,000 maybe, but now we're skating around the ARS.
No, pues va a seguir sacando.
Oh, so we're not allowed to touch the LVP?
Well, I made a motion that said.
We're not allowed to
if
touch
it's
the
not available,
LPV?
it's not being able to be done.
Unfortunately, no. The LPV was recalculated based on the Arizona Revised Statute. We didn't just arbitrarily increase that.
Okay. So we can't change the value to 20,000?
We'd have to have, in my opinion, we'd really have to have something to justify it. There
The
is
decision
no.
of the equalization board doesn't justify it.
I'm sorry, Mr.
The
Chairman.
decision by the equalization board doesn't justify change. I mean, that's what the equalization board is supposed to do, make a decision, and that would qualify that change.
Again, Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Reyes, again, the direction of the statute is based on the testimony you've heard here today, the evidence has been presented. You may accept or reject Mr. Hale's request in whole or in part. So.
Whole or in part. And whole or in part means to me I can accept it or change it a little bit, in part.
Correct.
That's what I thought, but now I'm getting this other side where the county's saying, well, you won't change it by statute. So I'm going like, okay, why do you bring it up to us then?
Then I move that we do 20,000.
I do.
Accept the petitioner's request?
No, yeah, that's what the petitioner requested.
20,300 something. I'll make it worse.
What about, a compromise between 34 and 20?
Well, I would say that 40 was a little higher than 36 and a little below 56, which I thought was the request the county had.
Yeah.
The LBB at 20. At 56.
But it's not going to change the LPV.
Say that it's undervalued
Well,
already.
it changes here. I see that it changes. It goes from 20,000 and then limited property value is 14,000. That's how much he pays in taxes. Now it's 56 and it says 34,000. So that's how much he's gonna be paying. So if you bring it down to 40, it's gonna be less than 34. It's gotta change. If not,
Actually,
I don't know what you base, what are you basing it on?
Oh, I see. If it was 56, if it was,
Yeah.
If it was 20 and 14,
This is what I remember. I mean, I've seen cases like, before. So we changed the amount of the value and it should drop the value of the
the LPV.
The LPV.
I don't know, to be honest with you. I apologize. I don't know the specifics. All I know is we can't protest our LPV. That's all I know.
But if we change the value of the property to 40,000, that automatically lowers the LPV to that property. From 56 to 40 should change the LPV to a lower amount, correct?
Okay, well,
All right, well,
But
I know
I don't know, to be honest.
Well, then let's
there's a motion and a second.
do it.
I'll go forward if we want to
Yeah.
motion to pass or not, and then we'll.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Mr. Chairman. Could you please restate the motion?
well, the motion was to set the LPV at 40,000.
No.
No,
The full cash.
The full cash value at
Which
40,000.
will set the LPV.
From 56,000 to 40,000,
And
that
that
would
was lower
automatically drop the LPV.
You can only increase it
Should
by 50%.
automatically drop the
Yeah,
LPV.
Okay,
Unless you split it again.
so,
I'll second that motion.
and second. Okay, there's a motion and a second to set the full cash value for property parcel number 664-44-001 to 40,000. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any, not in favor? Opposed? Aye. So, okay.
We have a 2-2.
2-2.
Which means nothing, send it back to, the next motion is gonna be to send it back to.
yeah, and we're not saying that we don't agree with you. It's just there's so much conflicting information as to where we stand on it. I would just rather it go back, let's get it straightened out, and then come back to the board with answers. Because right now, there's just so many unanswered questions.
I move that we send it back to the assessor for them to evaluate whether or not the dropping of the full cash value also drops the LPV, and whether or not that, something like that can happen, and discuss it with Mr. Hale and come up with a compromise.
I think Mr. Hale is next. I think Chris Thompson, this is what, Mr. Hale is next. I think,
Christopher Thompson. Mr.
Christopher Thompson's the owner of that property.
You just kind of got thrown into it.
So next, Mr. Hale.
Mr. Thompson,
Is there a second?
For what?
To send it back.
to send it back.
I'll second.
Second it.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to
Who made the
send it
motion?
back.
Who made the motion? Lynn made the motion, second by.
To send it back and figure something out, yeah.
On both one and, can we do both of them?
Well, I'll
Plus
open the other one. It just-
And then
yeah,
we'll do it.
since
Let's
this is
just do one.
So to send it back and hopefully come up to with an agreement mid in the middle or something more that, or if you, when you come present it to us, that we understand a little bit better, because there was some confusion with the LPV and the full cash
Well,
value.
you guys know the questions we have now. Just when you come back, be ready to answer those questions.
So there's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
And I just think it's gonna come back.
All right.
Well,
Moving
it
on
may,
to
but
item
we'll
number
have some
2.
answers.
Action regarding petition for review of real property valuation for Justin Hale, assessors parcel number 664-44011, located by Avenue B and 20th Street, Yuma, Arizona, filed by Justin Haley. So now, he is here. The assessors, staff? Do you want to, I mean, I think we understand this too, so.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, same thing. Would you like us to do the same thing with the other one?
I would say if there's no question, make a motion to send it back and get us some answers.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, moving to send it back, I'm not sure where that falls within the statutory structure. Might I recommend that you continue the hearing to the next meeting date, so that you can then have further testimony, evidence from the assessor's office, clarifying your questions, so that you can render a decision either accepting or rejecting the proposal in whole or in part.
Yeah,
I
well,
think that's what,
well, that's what we're saying. I mean, they're gonna have to work it out and come present it to us.
well,
Well, if,
I'll make a motion that we continue.
it is- the hearing, you're obligated to conduct the hearing on his request.
mhm.
So you need to complete the hearing with the testimony you want from the assessor's office at the next meeting perhaps, on or before the third Friday of November, and then you render your decision.
We already done the other one, the way.
I'm sorry?
I said, we already passed the other one and we delayed it. And I don't even know what we delayed it to. We didn't delay.
That's
We
what I'm
didn't
saying. The
continue or
hearing is-
table it.
Do you need me to amend my motion?
Upon his appeal, the statute requires a hearing for the Board of Equalization, which you met at. So you did not receive the answers to the questions you had here at the hearing today. I would recommend that you send instructions to the assessor to come back to you with this answers to the questions you have so that you can render a decision pursuant to the statute, either accepting or rejecting Mr. Hale and Mr. Thompson's request in whole or in part.
Okay, well, I think you're right, but you were a little late in
No,
responding.
but without, that's why we're sending it back. I mean,
Yeah, but we
That's
got-
what we're doing.
Staff is not gonna come up.
We
or not
don't
gonna
have
show
the-
up to us
our
we
verbiage
gotta
wasn't
approve it.
quite this.
We gotta approve this.
I understand. My concern is you're saying send it back and telling them to sit together and make an arrangement.
And then they're gonna come back. That's the way the items on the agenda are presented.
I think it's just the wording that's kind of got
His
it.
wording is much
You know-
better than ours.
I think staff says, like, community development, they put something on the agenda. I mean, they tell Ian, obviously, by us telling, bring it back, or next meeting, or the following, or table it. I think it's, when they're ready, they'll bring it back.
But again, remember, you do have a statutory deadline as well to get a decision made by the Board of Equalization.
Which is
Third Friday of
every third Friday of the
November.
month.
November.
Oh, by November, or every third Friday? November. Okay,
Third Friday
okay.
of November.
They'll bring it back next meeting. Because then we'll have,
Next meeting.
Next
Thank
meeting?
you.
Continue it to the next meeting, is what it boils down to. The motion will be to continue this hearing until next meeting.
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
Bill, do we need to change the first motion?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, let's finish two and then
Okay,
we'll
we'll
go
go
back.
back to one. Okay.
So what was your motion?
To continue this item until the next schedule.
Well, first we have to vote on the one, that number two. Did we vote on number two
No, we
already?
haven't voted.
Let's
The
do,
there's not there's a motion, but there wasn't a second. Huh?
I don't know.
I seconded
I think she
his.
seconded it, yeah.
Yeah, to send it back and.
Send it back. This is number two. Yes.
Mhm,
Yes,
okay,
I seconded it.
all right.
That's
It's
actually
okay,
a word.
we're gonna.
So there's a motion and a second to send it back,
Continue.
make the assessor work it out with, continue it, and bring it back before November
At the next meeting.
4th. So it'll be at the next meeting.
Correct. You're continuing the hearing until the next meeting so the assessor can bring back information to answer your questions.
Yes.
Yes,
second that.
to make
Okay.
clarifications.
There's a motion and a second to
Get them
continue.
Yes.
Yeah, which is to continue until next, meeting,
To
the next schedule. meeting.
reconsider the evaluation of the real property. All right?
Parcel number 66444-0.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay.
Now we
Going
go
back
back
to
to
item
one.
number one, to clarify the motion.
I'd like to clarify my motion for parcel number 664-44-001 and ask that it be returned to the assessor's office for them to reconsider and answer the questions that we had concerning a full cash value and the LPV.
And bring it back next
And
meeting.
then bring it back to the next meeting.
Continue it. There's a motion,
I'll second.
there's a second to send it back to the assessor and uphold the assessor's decision or reconsider the evaluation of the real property owned by Christopher Thompson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yay.
And one nay. 3-1. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well,
Appreciate it.
consistent.
We'll get it figured
I
out.
think we heard enough of this one.
I'll adjourn
Okay.
as
Thank
the
you.
board of,
Oh, please.
I'll adjourn as the Board
I learned
of,
quite a bit
Yuma
today.
County Board of Equalization and reconvene as the Yuma County Board of Supervisors. Legislative issues, Alejandro.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Alejandro Figueroa, Economic Development and Intergovernmental Affairs for Yuma County. I'll start my update with a brief summary of what happened at the CSA Summit back in Maricopa, City of Maricopa. CSA Summit was hosted by Pinal County from October 7th through the 9th. The summit convenes county supervisors and the professional staff to discuss the upcoming year's political context, deliberate and ultimately adopt the association resolutions, legislative agenda, and advocacy strategies for the upcoming legislative session, and review the detailed 2025 research work plan put together by CSA's research, data, and budget team. Thank you all, the members of the board, for making the trip and supporting staff during the summit, casting your votes. So the County Supervisors Association has outlined several key budget priorities for fiscal year 2025-2026. This includes urging the state to assume full responsibility for the costs of the Arizona Department of Juvenile Corrections, Justice of the Peace salaries, and state-funded probation officers, as well as continuing flexibility language to aid smaller counties in meeting state mandates. CSA is also advocating for public safety personal retirement system reforms to safeguard pension integrity and prevent taxpayer debt increases. The organization stresses the importance of data-driven decision-making in addressing pension proposals. Additionally, CSA is pushing for increased investment in transportation infrastructure and supporting a long-term funding solution, such as fuel tax parity for alternative fuel vehicles. Broadband expansion remains a priority, with a call for state matching funds to ensure federal grant success. Lastly, as you know, CSA passed several resolutions, including Yuma County's proposals on wastewater disposal and affordable housing, further emphasizing the need for strong state-county partnerships to enhance local services and legislative collaboration. As far as the wastewater disposal study, the CSA board agreed to have the CSA staff engage in further study of the wastewater disposal process statewide to assess inefficiencies and address concerns, and to draft a report on the findings of this research by the end of the calendar year. Now, as far as Yuma County is concerned, we're hoping that the data that comes out of this research shows that we need to address the issue of having just one vendor statewide taking care of the wastewater, and hopefully have the state negotiate a single rate for all counties. On the affordable housing one, the board agreed to issue a resolution supporting the development of affordable housing through the extension of the state affordable housing tax credit and continued use of the state's housing trust fund. Support continued usage of criteria that encourage development of these projects across Arizona. On the federal side, Congress...
Before you leave that, Alejandro, do you have a sense of why it failed?
The Yavapai one?
The one in affordable housing, that seems like a slam dunk.
Yeah, unfortunately...
is it the big counties? Or
the large counties were in... The large county caucus was against the proposal. They didn't give me any... They didn't share any feedback. Unfortunately, we didn't have anybody there at that meeting to support us on, our... for Yavapai County as well on this effort, but yes, the deciding factor was that the large county caucus was opposing it. Property rights, I'm assuming.
I thought it was more like, because the way I read it is, you want to control how much they charge especially on the trailer parks. It wasn't so much about houses, it was more of a RV or mobile home parks.
And as a matter of fact, Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Reyes, as a matter of fact, the Yavapai County agreed to quote unquote water down the initial proposal to just study the issue further, as we're doing with the wastewater one. So it was really a surprise to any of us. The large county caucus didn't agree to even look into it further.
That's with the chickens.
No, I guess it's just, they see it, well, what are we gonna look into? You know, people are gonna charge whatever they want. I mean, if it's, oh, you know. So, anyway.
I was just a little surprised at the end there. I was just surprised. This was a resolution in support of affordable housing. I didn't see it as a mobile home park issue or, you know, the use of mobile homes. They did, we didn't.
Yeah.
You know, I was surprised. We should have explained it. They didn't explain it enough. I mean, there shouldn't have been any negatives to it. I mean, it was surprising to me, and I just wonder whether you sort of knew. I kind of saw that the Maricopa County delegation didn't vote for it. Neither did you, I think. So it's just a surprise.
Big ones.
Unfortunately, we need to come up with some sort of new system where anything that the smaller counties push for, you get two counties that are against it and they can pretty much control the state. And that's got to change somehow, some way.
You know, they only have 5 votes. I was just a little surprised everybody else went.
But it depends if nobody's, you know, if someone's missing from the other counties, from the smaller counties, if they didn't give the proxy. I know Santa Cruz was only, then one left, so one didn't vote and they didn't even give.
It's a little surprise, and not because I don't expect every once in a while to have our resolution fail, but this one was an easy one to me. I was a little surprised at the end that they wouldn't, you know, that they wouldn't vote in support of
a study
housing resolution, especially given the fact that it's a big issue in the county. I mean, in the state right now.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just wonder if you had any background.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Reyes, I do not at this point, but I'll be happy to reach out to CSA staff and see if they heard anything different than I
Please do
did.
so.
Yes, and fortunately enough, we'll have Supervisor Pancrasi become president of the CSA fairly soon, and hopefully we can address the bylaws of the organization
Yeah, huh?
at that point.
Yeah, right.
Moving on to the federal side, the U.S. Congress is not in session at the moment, so there was not a lot of information coming out of there. But I'll share with you, as you and the public, that the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the Deputy Secretary Xochitl Torres Small, announced last week that USDA Rural Development is awarding approximately $20.6 million to Yuma County to the Waste and Water Disposal Loan and Grant Program to install a wastewater collection system and associated components to more than 300 homes in the Orange Grove and Rancho Mesa Verde subdivisions. The $21.6 million USDA award will address a critical public health concern by replacing outdated septic systems in over 300 homes in the Orange Grove and Rancho Mesa Verde subdivisions. This upgrade will prevent potential groundwater contamination and promote the long-term health and safety of our residents. By connecting these colonial communities to Somerton's wastewater system, Yuma County is setting the stage for future economic growth. The new infrastructure will not only protect the environment, but also open the door to future residential and commercial development in these areas. Lastly, on the International Border Affairs side, Chief Sean McCoffin, who was serving as the Chief Patrol Agent for the U.S. Border Patrol, U.S. Border Patrol's Yuma sector, has been named as the new Chief Patrol Agent for the Tucson sector. McGoffin's experience in managing the diverse terrain and increasing migrant encounters in the Yuma sector will likely be valuable in this new role overseeing the Tucson sector. This move comes at a time when the Tucson sector has been experiencing a surge in migrant crossings, and the Yuma sector has been providing assistance to its neighboring sector. As of now, no official announcement has been made about who will take over the leadership of the Yuma sector. And that will conclude my presentation, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Any questions?
The comment I read about a family that was shot on the way to Puerto Peñasco. Is that something you know anything about?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Reyes, I do not know.
Thank you, Alejandro. Moving on to current events.
The County Supervisors Association Summit and the Rural Transportation Summit. Those two have been, one was 1 week, one was the next week, and They took up most of my time.
Thank you. Supervisor Simmons?
Community meetings, CSA summit, couple of board BOS meetings, and just numerous other meetings with constituents in my area over one main issue, which I'm working on.
Supervisor
Well,
Reyes?
CSA Summit was something that we all attended, and it was pretty, I think it's pretty eye-opening to see how the legislature deals with the budget, which is probably to me one of the most impactful stuff that we're gonna have to deal with next year. How they deal with the budget statewide, and how we end up, how would we end up in terms of revenue. The second one was obviously the visit by Socio Torres, I think, who is the U.S. Department of Agriculture Deputy Director. In terms of what's going on at the Orange Grove area, I'd like to commend the city of Somerton. I don't think without the city's participation in it, we would have advanced so much. I mean, that water tank was a surprise to me. Maybe I shouldn't have missed it, but that was really eye-opening to me to see the stuff that's going on at that area. I again commend the supervisor whose district that is, and the city of Somerton for making that possible. And obviously the Department of Agriculture for providing such a large amount of money. That's even more than the Avenue B and C Colonia, because this is a Colonia funding area. It's because it's a Colonia too that it's also open up that line of funding. And I think that should do it for me.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I also attended the CSA, the Rural Transportation Summit also. And you know, it's one of the things that I gathered at the transportation, I don't know about you, Lynn, but there was more talk about sales or increase in gas tax.
Oh, man.
There was more legislators at the summit there, at the Transportation Summit than at our CSA conference.
Yes, I know.
And I think everybody pretty much let them know that something needs to be done. You know, they're sending, just kicking it down the road. They're doing some numbers, and I think 7 cents on just an increase of 7 cents, it raised like $500 million in gas tax just with the registered vehicles here in Arizona. That's not counting vehicles that go through here and put gas. And they were talking also about a $200 tax on the electric vehicles. And that'll raise another amount of money. So I hope they do really consider it and have something for this next budget year.
Me too.
And also at the Orange, the visit from Xochitl Torres Ma, this Deputy Secretary of USDA, that was great news. She was glad to see her coming down and present that check to Lima County. A lot of those residents there did a lot of work. I mean, they've been working since they started with the water. I think I was in Somerton when the county did the water, so I wasn't here to advise Tony or remind him that the water was going to Somerton.
You should have remembered Diana.
Yeah, huh.
Part of this, and Rachel. I mean, Rachel.
No, and I thank them, and I also want to thank the staff again from Rachel and Diana, the work that they have done.
Boy, they worked hard on that.
Yes, so I'll pass it on to you. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, of course, the CSA Policy Summit had a meeting with Welton Town Manager Rich Marsh, GYEDC board meeting. I joined Chairman Porches for a meeting with Clint Harrington of Pilkington Construction. We had our quarterly management team meeting, Yuma County Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors meeting, and of course the Orange Grove USDA announcement.
Thank you. All right. Meeting adjourned.
You'll have to tell me how to pronounce your name.